agent was like, "Oh, I like this. I also represent this mildly famous lady, which she should be in it." And so it was really like, honestly, it all just came from me like posting, like tweeting on on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
Behind the scenes, between the lines, and before the credits roll. This is Olivia. Welcome to Stardust Wonders.
We just that level of like travel and stuff I never achieved. And then when I got
Hmm.
old enough to go
Yeah.
myself, like my sister has already done a lot more stuff and she's 10 years younger. You
Hmm.
know, I've taken that any free money and I've spent it on movies. I had to pay for North of Pine,
Yeah.
pay for this, and I'm kind of like
Hmm.
rolling the dice like, in my 40s, I'll have
Yeah.
money from movies or I'll go for movies or some or commercials or if I don't go to shoot something, which would be the goal, then I'll
Yeah.
have enough money to travel. Like my girlfriend, um, I mean, she's like, she's been to Shanghai Disneyland 4 times. Like, so she's
Oh
been
my
all over
God.
the world like a bunch. She's been everywhere. I mean, she went by
Yeah.
herself 2 years ago to like Jordan and Petra
Wow.
and stuff. Like, she's very adventurous.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
but she's got a nice job. So I'm still starving artist, doing mode. So we're figuring it
Yeah.
out.
I feel like it's very pick and choose, especially for like people who are in the creative industry. It's either put my money in traveling and experiencing or do something that in hopes will pay off at the end for our career.
I'll just say that's like the struggle
Yeah.
for like why there's not as many independent filmmakers. I feel like people take a chance. Is you have to really bet on yourself and choose other things, and it's very distracting. Like living in LA, for example, you can
Hmm.
get stuck at any job. Like I got offered a job early on. Like I've been offered plenty of jobs. Like I got offered a full-time job to work at a commercial company as an associate when I was younger, and then associate producer and moving up. But it's like it's hard to then take a job and then be like, well, I'm gonna try to shoot this movie next year and quit for 2 months, and then I have to edit it, and you kind of have
Hmm.
to like believe in yourself. And it's so easy to get stuck. Like I have a buddy, my old roommate Alex, who is actually the co-editor of Northwood Pie. He came to be an editor. Like he moved from like San Luis Obispo area. He came down here to be an editor. That's his dream and his goal. But he got a
Yeah.
job at Fox as an intern in post-production, and he was working on the Maze Runner movies, and he was working on X-Men: Days of
Oh
Future,
wow.
and he was working on all of these big films and the Alvin and Chipmunk movies and stuff. But like
Yeah.
just an intern, and then he went from an intern to like he was an assistant, and then he was a coordinator,
Hmm.
and he had been there for like 7 years, and he's all of a sudden making good money. He's showing up to the Fox lot, every day and
Hmm.
looking at big movies. But at no point is he anywhere closer to editing because he's not editing. No one's gonna turn around and be like,
Hmm.
"Hey, you edit, right, Alex? Why don't you edit
Hmm.
at 7?" It just doesn't happen. It's like a catch-22 thing. You have
Yeah.
to like go do it yourself. And I see so many people, and it makes sense, but they come here, you need money, they get a job, and then they get stuck.
Hmm.
Oh, now I wanted to come here and direct, but nah, I did a short film, and now I'm a post supervisor, and I've been doing that, and then I had
Hmm.
kids, and then I had that. So I kind of gambled that thing in life where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it to a certain period of time, and
Hmm.
go for it. And you have to be selfish enough to go for
Yeah.
it. And Rob Zombie, the
Yeah.
musician and horror filmmaker, I heard him say so. He said
Hmm.
something like, you will always succeed if you never give up. He goes, you might not succeed till you're 78, but like if you are
Hmm.
really passionate about something and you continue to do that, you will find some form of success.
Yeah.
So I'm
Hmm.
going in that lane basically. So
I feel like that's kind of very in line with one of my professors from Emerson. I like had a Zoom call with him just to like catch up and everything, and he was like, make sure you figure out what you actually really want. Like going off from what you said, like if I just went to LA, got a job like as like an editor, and that wasn't really what I wanted to do. I wanted to make movies instead. If I just got too comfortable with that editing position, I don't think I would be able to kind of like go towards my dream of making movies. I think like I would actually be stuck in that position or just
sure.
growing within that department and never like making my movies. So like my professor was like, just make sure you don't get too comfortable. Like make sure you're still working on your own craft while you're doing whatever you're doing. So
Yeah, 100%. Because it's also
yeah.
like, I mean, you want to meet people and you have to work on other things. I mean, if you were
Hmm.
editing someone else's film eventually, I mean, there's plenty of editors that
Yeah.
become filmmakers. I consider myself an editor first. I think that's why,
Hmm.
like the drawing short film and the short film I made before that, like the drawing short
Hmm.
film is 27 shots or 27 cuts, 26 shots. I
Hmm.
only reuse an angle one
Yeah.
time, very much like this shot tells a story.
Yeah.
Every shot should be a new shot in a sequence like that. But that's because I'm an editor.
Hmm.
You just and for the
Yeah.
drawing feature film, I did the same thing where I basically made a 75-minute version of the movie with just like iPhone stills and pictures and other movies, and
Wow.
then edit that together, and then you can throw it out, but like I go with my girlfriend and the producer and the people, and I
Hmm.
shoot the whole scene on an iPhone, not really the dialogue, but just take the pictures and walk
Yeah.
around, eagle angles, and then I go and I edit it and I put music to it and I cut the scene together, and then I know for sure
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't need this angle. I should get an angle between these angles here, and it's kind of like sequenced it out, you know. So I think editing is a good
Yeah.
where you start. But going with what you're saying, like, yeah, you get stuck. You have, if you do go for something, I think you have to still have a North Star. It's okay to edit and it's okay to have a job and it's okay to keep working on
Hmm.
something, but don't lose what you want to do. Make sure you tell people
Yeah.
when if you're an editor for, if Christopher Nolan hires you to edit his movie, that's great. Edit his movie, but you should let
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan know,
Yeah.
like, hey, just so you know, I'm only planning on editing one or two of your films, and then I'm going to make my own films. You know, let that be known from the
Yeah.
beginning, because then those people will also remember that, and they'll throw out opportunities,
Hmm.
and then they'll think about it when, like, hey, you know, we're doing this little, you know, promo
Yeah.
for the ad for the, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, you can get little stuff. Like when I worked at a commercial production company and
Hmm.
I started there as an assistant, and I got the job actually
Yeah.
because of Northwood Pie. I like showed
Wow.
I got like a 2-day gig and I showed the boss the rough cut, and then he was like, "Oh, you're a doer, come
Hmm.
back." Stayed there. But because he knew what my ambition was, anytime something was
Hmm.
small, he threw it my way. Like we were doing a giant shoot on all these stages, but then it's like
Yeah.
we basically had to oversee like press interviews for this TV show. But like they're like, Jay,
Hmm.
we trust you. You go set up the camera with the crew, you pick the
Yeah.
shots, you do the thing. So and it gets, you know, in that realm of like getting to, you know, tell people where to sit and where to stand. It was for
Hmm.
Will and Grace reunion for me. And it was like the first time I had to tell
Oh,
any form of
wow.
celebrity, like, hey, I'm sorry, we're gonna move the chair a foot over here, or can you look this
Hmm.
way? And it's like, so it's like if you do tell people what you want, they will help you, I think. You just have to let that be known. And like don't be afraid to speak up, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that's one thing a lot of like new people in the industry, like me, myself included, and like other people I've talked to, they're afraid to speak up for what they want. They feel like, well, we all feel like we just have to like work hard, like within ourselves to kind of just like make it. But I think like a big part, like you said, is like connecting and like telling people what we really want and kind of like in a way manifesting it, if you
Yeah.
will.
It's
Yeah.
both things. Like I'll say, so when I first moved to LA, like I went to, if you're going way back, I guess, you know, I wanted to be a filmmaker since I was 8. I love movies. Movies were my
Yeah.
favorite thing growing up. Even when I was like 1 or 2, my mom says, like, if I cry, no matter anything that was going on, if you put on a movie, silence. I just pay attention to it. And at
Same.
8 years
Yeah.
old, I watched the making of Jurassic Park, and that's when I told my mom that's what I wanted to do. Because I realized
Yeah.
that in that moment, I guess not fully, but in that moment, you know, I basically, I'm also a kid who's very, like, I never believed in Santa. Like, 4-year-old me didn't believe Santa.
Hmm.
So, like, I've
That's
always been
crazy.
very, very skeptical of things. But, like, movies, like,
Yeah.
I know Star Wars isn't real. I know you can't go to Jurassic Park. I know, like,
Hmm.
Indiana Jones in the past, and you can't really, you know, not really a knight
Yeah.
that's alive 500 years later protecting something. But I realized as a kid, I guess I had the feeling that making that movie is the closest you can get to be on that adventure. Like the only way to go to Jurassic Park is to make Jurassic Park. So I feel like that's what led me
Hmm.
initially to like want to be a filmmaker and, you know, kind of extend that way, follow that career path. But then like when I graduated high school, I was making short films and stuff and playing at some film festivals and, you know, doing all the type of stuff everyone does who wants to be a filmmaker at a young
Hmm.
age. But right
Yeah.
when I got out of high school, I didn't go to film school. I went to junior college and I was debating transferring to film school. I ended up not transferring to film school. I ended up dropping out after like a year and a
Hmm.
half and just quitting my job, moving out of my house, and moved to LA. And I got a job as an assistant. Like the first week I moved there, I posted on Facebook, "Hey, I'm moving to LA," and I got a gig right away. And because I got that though, because when I was in junior college, I had friends at Chapman who were older than me. They were like 3 years older, and they were doing their senior thesis, and I worked as a PA on it. And on that PA, it was a 3-day shoot. We went up to Simi Valley. We drove like 3 hours away from Orange County. I worked nonstop. I mean, I worked 16-hour day. I went to bed. I remember one night I went to bed at like 3 in the morning. We were working. I had to wake up at 5 in the morning to go pick up all the breakfast and the lunch. And like, I'm not getting paid. I
Gosh.
worked so hard for free on this senior thesis. And I told myself, you know, at 19 years old, 18 years old, I said, you know, my buddy's 22 directing, like kind of, and I'm going to treat him no different than if Steven Spielberg was directing this movie. You know, and I had that mindset and I
Hmm.
didn't act any different. And people were almost making fun of me during the film for how hard I was trying.
Mm.
But when I was moving to LA 2 years later, I posted on Facebook, the producer who produced that thesis is the one who was like, I
Yeah.
gotta for you. You worked so hard for me on that thing. I know you'll work hard now.
Yeah.
So it's like it does come hand in hand. You have to put it out there, but that hard work on the
Hmm.
lower levels, everyone does that, and that's how you get noticed. And it's like
Hmm.
but you have to also let it known. I'm trying to make movies, but and then they know why you're working so hard. It's because you're passionate, and you're passionate to strive somewhere else. You're not just,
Hmm.
you know, comfortable in whatever field you are in.
Yeah.
And the last thing, sorry, it's kind of hard because being in production, working as a PA most of the time until recently,
Yeah.
it's like to be a director, I've chosen not to like pick a path. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna go on the camera team. I'm gonna go here. It's like I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay being
Hmm.
a PA because I'm not gonna get stuck like we were talking about earlier in another lane. I have to be able to
Yeah.
and there's no really way to directing. You can work up to be a DP because you can be a camera
Hmm.
assistant and a third and a second and a first, and then you can, finally be a camera operator, but there's no like path to being a director on those
Yeah, I feel
sets.
like being a PA is where you kind of learn everything. It is like the lowest position, but I feel like that's where you get to kind of take in every person's position, what they're doing, how they're doing it. And I feel like you just learn so much more as the PA. Because then everyone already specializes in different departments and they're gonna want someone to help them. And so
Mhm.
like you'll get the chance to kind of like work in all of those spots. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's like the best spot to be in because I feel like I'm the same with you where I kind of like want to be everywhere. I want to like learn everything. I don't want to just stick in one spot kind of.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like that
So
was
yeah.
directing when I was in high school. My thought process was like, I don't, especially as director, and especially as someone who went to like a film school, when technically in every individual subject, I'm not even close to the best. Like I passed the camera test, but like I knew like
Hmm.
I'm never going to be the DP. I don't want to be DP, so I didn't. I'm not, I know how it all works. I know what I want specifically, but
Hmm.
I'm not the best director photographer. I'm not the best gaffer. But
Hmm.
my mindset is I have to be almost an assistant, not an assistant, or like an over in all of the aspects. You have to be knowledgeable in everything, and because
Hmm.
you're the person who has to give the notes, and it's like your job to keep everything on the train. Everyone's doing their own art,
Hmm.
and you have to know enough of everyone's art to make sure that they're all on the same path because you're the only one who fully knows what
Hmm.
everybody else is doing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like yeah, just being able to understand how everyone else works and how each department like their role is really important because like as a director, if you just want a certain vision and you don't understand how everything is put together, it kind of doesn't work and you're not functioning as a team, which is what it should be when you're on set.
Yeah.
So I think that's like really important. And also like going off of how you were saying how you were grinding at like 19, like not being paid. Another one of my professors was saying how you should definitely make connections with everyone that's still in school with you because while you're growing, they're growing too. And with the connections you guys are making in school, they'll think of you. Like you were saying, like he thought of you, how hardworking you were, and they knew that you were able to do the job. So I feel like that's really important as well. Don't just like reach for like people who are like already in the industry, like being successful. Try to make those connections and work hard with everyone around you because you guys are going to be in
Mm.
kind of like growing together and you'll have success around the same time. So you guys can be able to like work with each other, support each other kind of thing.
Yeah, that's something I kind of missed out on to be honest, because I didn't go to film
Yeah.
school. So like
Mhm.
I
But you
feel
still
like
made the connections, you
no,
know?
I mean some connections, but I feel like if
Yeah.
I went to USC or Chapman, I would already have an agent or a manager, and I probably would have done more because I have a bunch of random friends who do smaller things or movies, and like I feel like if I tomorrow the drawing came out, there is
Hmm.
less people in the film industry that I know that would like share it. Like I have a buddy who like made a short film and
Hmm.
like he 30 people were like, "We're so proud of you, you're the best," and he's got like 30 people
Yeah.
sharing his thing. And it's like to get like 6 people that shared it, maybe. Just I feel like because I don't
Yeah.
have those initial college connections, and
Hmm.
I mean you find them through working together on projects. I mean, but like it's good
Yeah.
to go. An example of what you're saying and why it's important. I think about you look at Ryan Coogler, who of course is a big director
Hmm.
right now doing the Black Panther movies and Sinners and Creed,
Yeah.
and his composer Ludwig. Can never pronounce his last name. But
Yeah.
Grand Bros, whatever. I don't even want to. Don't even try. But Ludwig, is now Nolan's composer too. He does The Mandalorian. He does
Hmm.
Nolan movies. He does his. It's like that was
Yeah.
just someone Ryan Coogler met at USC. Ryan Coogler was making
That's
his short film at
yeah.
USC, and he did his first short film music, and they were ended up being friends, and like they went up together. And it's the same thing with Ryan Johnson. Does all the Knives Out movies and The Last Jedi. Um,
Hmm.
he his DP, Steve Yeldon, also, I think USC, I think is his college cinematographer. They went up together and did everything. And of course, Steve also does a bunch of other
Mhm.
massive movies outside of Ryan. So it's like you do find someone creative and stick with them because it's someone you trust. And at the end of the day, you want the shortest shorthand in reality when you're making something.
Mhm.
If you can just look
Yeah.
and you both have the same thought, you're going to be able to, do stuff so
Mhm.
much quicker. There's a reason, people bring back the same crew. Like Steven Spielberg, his first half of his career, he was working with a different DP all the time or swapping between three or four.
Mhm.
But from Schindler's List on, from 1993, his second film, 1993, because Jurassic Park, but that point on, every single movie he's made is with Janusz Kaminski, and it's like and if you look at it, he's got
Mhm.
two or three production designers he's swapping between, like whoever's available, and he's got the same editor, and
Yeah.
John Williams is in every movie but one for the music. So it's like, if you have collaborators you like, there's no reason to not use them over and over again.
Mhm. Building rapport with them because I feel like at that point they probably understand each other. Like they don't even have to say anything. They'll just be like, "We know what you want," and kind of thing.
Yeah.
So definitely like building rapport, the connection, and just being able to connect in
Mhm.
like a more emotional mindset kind of way is probably like the best kind of relationship, really.
Yeah, I'm still looking for that in a way. I mean, every time I pick up some people, but every project I've done, I've had like a different
Yeah.
DP. So I still like it's fun,
Hmm.
but I haven't done another feature or another project with
Yeah.
the same DP yet. So
Hmm.
it's like you always take a couple days the first week of shooting to kind of figure out, the speed of
Yeah.
every.
You still have a lot of time. Come on. Like you're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
be able to find someone eventually. But like yeah, coming off of that, I know you were talking about Northwood Pie and how you spent, was it 12K on it?
Mhm.
Like, can you tell me more about like the process? Like, was it like a lot of like just asking friends and family for like donations? Like, how did you go about creating the movie and like getting your
Um,
friends to do it kind of?
yeah, I mean, so I've always just kind of in high school, I said like, "Oh, I'm going to shoot a movie when I graduate college," like that age. And I
Hmm.
shot North of Pie the same year would be after I graduated, so it was still on pace, even though I didn't go for it. But I
Yeah.
setting it in the mindset already there, I think, is the point. And then when I moved to LA, I always wanted to make movies, and we had an idea of writing this. So at like 20 years old or 21, we started kind of dabbling and writing ideas for a coming of age story, like kind of based on my life
Yeah.
and then Todd, my friend's life, who used to work at the pizza place. Um,
Hmm.
and we were working on that and writing it. And then what happened was basically I went to a screening for The Sublime and the Beautiful, which is a very tiny $35,000 movie. But my friend,
Hmm.
who worked at a commercial company, his buddy or mentor, I forgot it was. This guy was like 40 and we were in our early 20s, and
Yeah.
he was an actor and he made this little $35,000 movie. And I went to the screening of it early on, and he did a little Q&A, and
Hmm.
he talked about that, how you make a movie. And his number one thing that he said was that you just have to pick a date. Like, it's so easy to
Hmm.
procrastinate. You have to pick a date. And he goes, just pick a date and work toward that. So like I went to that, I agreed. I came
Yeah.
back to my friends. I said, listen, we are shooting on September 1st or whatever. I'm shooting this movie. And it was like December or November, or even January. So it was a long time to go. And at that point, I was just like, listen, every single day we're going to write 5 pages, or not every single week, and then we're going to review those and keep going forward. Eventually, you hit the point you're done, you revise it, and then once we like the
Yeah.
script, again with no producer, no nothing, I was like, okay, well, I guess we got to cast it now. So you go, you start casting it, and you
Yeah.
set up some LA casting things and free people, and you just start people coming in. And it's kind of just one step at a
Yeah.
time, and then eventually, this is how real movies are made too, you guys in Hollywood. Once the ball starts rolling enough, it's
Hmm.
the movie's getting made. You kind of have to like will it into production a bit, get far enough to
Yeah.
convince people, and it happens. And then money wise, $12,000, we got a Kickstarter, so we raised a lot of through that. Basically, in reality, it was like $6,000 of random people and $6,000 of my family. And my family's,
Yeah.
they're not that wealthy or anything, but my parents are divorced. But like, I didn't go to college and I didn't ask for money for college. I paid for
Hmm.
like my $2,000 tuition for junior college
Yeah.
myself. So it was kind of like, and I had made short films before in high school that I'd done well and playing at big film festivals. And I had convinced
Hmm.
my family that, to follow this dream and it was something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I was able to get like 2,000 from my mom and then 4,000 from my dad and stepmom. And then,
But that's amazing.
yeah, and then $6,000. So then 6,000 from like random people. And that's the $12,000 that we had. And then, yeah, so we just kind of chipped away one thing at a time. Like, oh, now we cast it.
Hmm.
And then I guess I like casted everybody. And then, just kind of one step at a time. And then even in DP was so funny. Like,
Yeah.
couldn't convince people to do it because I'm telling people, like, we're making movies as small as possible. And everyone in my life is telling me, like, no, like, I hadn't directed anything at that point. I had worked in film,
Yeah.
but I technically was producing everything. I never directed a short film. I
Mm.
produced a bunch of short films in high school, and I like produced stuff in junior college because
Yeah.
I guess that was, I don't know if that was the mindset or it was because I didn't think when I was in high school, I had a buddy who owned a camera. I didn't get a computer till we were in
Mm.
middle school. He had the big editing system and he had a dolly. Like he had all of the camera equipment and he had all
Mhm.
of the means of doing something. So we all kind of worked on movies and, some I would do more than, or like, come up with more of the story or the thing or the plot of the shots. But end of the day it was like he was still the cameraman and he would always be the editor because he had the camera and the editing. And it was kind of like, I guess I felt like I never had not ambition, but I never had the confidence, I guess, to just do that. I was like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
And to my own horn a bit, in high school, I thought I was cool because we had a program in Orange County where there was like 14 schools where all had a separate
Mhm.
film program by this outside company that kind of like did 14 schools. And they had a film festival every year
Mhm.
with all the schools. And everyone, made movies in their own school. And in sophomore year, we had a very successful short film that, like, in sophomore year, competed against all the seniors and did really well.
Mhm.
Um, I ended up producing like the best kid from the other school's movie too. So I was like the one kid in high school. I was already
Oh my
reaching out and
gosh.
calling people in other schools like, "You're the
Yeah.
most talented filmmaker at that school. I want to make your next project." Oh, you're the most talented. So I was making
Yeah.
short films actually with kids in different high schools.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to try to learn. It wasn't until like North of Pi came along that I realized, oh, I have to direct this and I have to do this. But yeah, I'm kind of
Mhm.
long-winded going around things. But you just have to kind of stay focused and do one thing at a time, basically, is I
Mhm.
think how I kind of got to that place. And the pizza place was free
Yeah.
because Todd used to work there and they let us shoot there when the pizza place is
Uh,
open and shoot there when they're
yeah.
closed. So, you got to do what you can.
Was there a turning point? I know you said you've always wanted to work in film since you're like 8. Was there like a turning point where you're like, this is definitely it? Like, I'm not doing anything else. This is the only thing I'm going to solely focus on, kind of?
Yeah, so Rooftop, that film in sophomore year was that moment. Basically,
Yeah.
before that, we were doing sketches and like spoof movies. We had Mission Slightly
Hmm.
Difficult. We did like a Godfather ripoff. We were doing
Hmm.
like a fun like cops ripoff, like the television
Hmm.
show. Bad Boys, Bad
Yeah.
Boys, and like we were doing everything was like a parody essentially. Like we were making
Hmm.
short films based off of popular movies. And this Rooftop movie we made sophomore year was the first time we did like an original project. And
Okay.
I remember when we played it, everyone was shocked. Like the teachers and everybody was kind of blown away. They're like, oh, this is like, you guys should do this for your life. And even my family, up to that point, my family, I think, knew I like movies, but I don't think in their mind like
Hmm.
they were committed to be like, oh, this is what you should do for a living. As if your kid's like,
Yeah.
I want to be play for the Rams or the Dodgers or something. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
yeah, sure, you want to go be Steven Spielberg, like that's fun. But when that movie came out sophomore year and they saw it, like my whole family instantly too was like, oh, like there's another level of talent. And also looking at comparison to everyone else our age, it was clearly the best film of the 14
Yeah.
schools in our age range. And it was just kind of like that moment of realizing like, oh, I guess there's a deeper natural talent that we have. And actually, oh, you know what? Before that, I'm actually sorry. Before that, there's one.
No.
In seventh grade, we did Mission Slightly Difficult. And that was in a movie. So this is how spoiled we kind of are. But I didn't go to film school in college, but my middle school in 2006 had a film program
Yeah.
where you could make little short films
Wow.
and they would give you a camera and give you something and give you like all the equipment. And the project that, me and my friends made that I was more in charge of was Mission Slightly Difficult. And
Yeah.
like it is, and basically having seen all the Bond and mission movies, we had shot the film and it starts with like a regular, I walk in, I get a mission, something happened, and we go to the movie. But the whole time I was adamant with my group, like we need a pre-title sequence. Like we need to have an action scene
Yeah.
in the beginning that doesn't tie into the movie, but
Oh
it's
my
that.
God.
And we shot that last. So it was like usually you shoot everything in chronological order, but we shot that last. And it's a whole chase scene on two like razor scooters, and they're going through the neighborhood and jumping, and like the Mission Impossible music is playing, and then the titles are coming across the screen. And then at the end, we like catch him and tackle him. It's like, da da da, mission slightly difficult. And then like I walked into the building because I was also acting this as a kid. But then I walk into the building and like sit down and get the mission. But the teacher who taught that class, I guess, for 6 years, and it
Yeah.
was seventh and eighth graders, he said right away, he was like, he paused it and was like on the second, because the first thing you watch it through, then you watch it again and would go over it. And he said that that was
Yeah.
the first time in 6 years that any student or any film, anyone had done a prologue or that had nothing to do with like a
Oh,
pre-title. And he was just like, how did you know to do that? How did you know to make a little two
yeah.
minute film before the short film starts? And I was just like, that's how movies are made. I mean, I've seen Indiana Jones, I've seen I've seen Mission Impossible, James Bond.
Yeah.
It seemed obvious to me, but I saw the light in his eye too, that like he
Mhm.
looked at me a different way, and that was probably the first time I felt proud, like I can do this maybe. And then
Mhm.
the rooftop was like the next step where it was like confirmed to everybody else, to myself and to my parents, and it was like kind of that
Mhm.
was like the decision because I was also old enough to know like no, it's not just a little childlike dream. This is something that's achievable.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's also when I said I was going to make a movie after I got out of college. So everything was kind of a stepping stone.
That was literally a culmination of everything. I feel like it just kind of all of that boosted your confidence and your determination to kind of go for it. And look where you are now. You've literally made two feature films at this point. And so, like, up until Northwood Pie, is there anything that you learned that you kind of hope that other people starting out to make films would kind of get? Like, you want to tell them, like, any lessons you've learned or just kind of any motivations, kind of stuff like that?
I mean, I say if you, it depends what you want to do. If you want to direct, and I think I learned this before North of Pi and I learned after, you have to have, you really have to set a strong opinion, a strong point of view, and you have to understand yourself what a movie is and what makes a movie good. So, for example, for me, I have there's like two things that I like stick by. And I said this before North of Pi, I was kind of adamant about it. And I think it's why North of Pi works. And it's why the drawing works too, is that like movies are about pacing slash structure. So it's like the pace of a movie. They're
Hmm.
about the tone of the film, and then it's the perspective of the film, like the POV and what character are we in this moment and whose story is we telling. So I was
Hmm.
kind of very adamant about that, and I always approached it with that. And the whole time making that movie, to be like not no one making it really believed in the movie, if I'm being honest. Like the DP was like, this
Hmm.
is kind of like I had to really I couldn't get a DP involved. I had to like keep asking. Like so many people said
Yeah.
no that finally when I met up with this guy John, he said he was willing to do it. I said yes. I was so excited. I hadn't even seen his reel. We were just getting coffee. He's like, "Don't you want to see my
Yeah.
reel?" And I was like, "You own a camera and you said you want to do it. So like, yeah, sure, you can do it, but like I'll see your reel."
Yeah.
It was like you're so desperate. And then making the movie, he was working hard, but there was an attitude of like, I'm doing you a favor type of thing. And then
Mm.
that was the feeling from a lot of people involved in the project, I felt like, which makes sense. But
Hmm.
then when the movie came out, everyone was like, oh my God, it was the opposite. So, but I stick with those kind of principles that give me there. Like the pace, for example, I was just like, I mentioned all these movies that I liked and the rhythm of the beginning because also that main actor in that movie was my good friend, and he wasn't and the
Hmm.
writer. And he's not necessarily an actor, but he always acted and stuff before. But it was understanding like, no, if you're in every scene and every scene is this thing, and we're moving
Hmm.
the story forward, people will latch onto you. They will understand in 10 minutes, oh, this is the guy, this is the character. So I kind of just had to keep the North Star of understanding that. And then the other thing for me is, things have to be in a movie perfectly staged, but not stagey. So that's like a tough thing, but it is true. Like you want the person to be perfectly framed, but it can't feel perfectly
Hmm.
framed because then it takes you out of the movie and you feel like you're looking at, an advertisement in a way. So not everyone needs to have those opinions and those thoughts, but I think that people are scared early on. I'm scared too to like be strong in their opinion, have a point, but that's what makes you you. It's okay to like what you like and
Hmm.
not like what you like, but you should hone in on that. So the only thing I'd say is like try to really hone in on what you like because I just watch movies all the time. I watch 800 movies a year, so I was
Yeah.
just studying
Yeah.
movies, taking notes, listening to directors' commentary. So I was always a film nerd, and I feel like I always had a strong opinion and clear point of view. So and it's okay. And if you feel like you may not find that out until you make a movie. The other thing I'll add for someone going to attempt to film is that like you have to be not afraid to be bold right away. So like your day one, your first week,
Hmm.
whatever, you have to do interesting stuff or shots that even if you don't think you're like, you have to do something interesting with the camera or different and you see it on features now, and I can see it all the way when you watch it. when you watch other people's stuff is it's scary because when you can shoot something safely, but once you shot some
Yeah.
footage, it already starts to make itself like a tone. So you if you shoot
Hmm.
3 days and you never dolly, if on the fourth day you put a shot on the dolly, you might be like, oh, it doesn't feel right because we haven't dollied yet. So you have to like dolly
Hmm.
right away, or else it's gonna feel awkward later, type of thing. Like
Yeah.
if you shoot 3 weeks on a movie and you've never tilted the camera Dutch, if you try to put the camera
Hmm.
Dutch on, day 20, it's not gonna feel organic because you have now set the
Hmm.
precedent in your head. You've almost locked yourself into something. So my thing is always be
Hmm.
creative right out the gate. That's kind of what I would go with, you know.
Jumping off of that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, continue.
No,
Sorry.
I'm just saying trust your instincts. Yeah.
When you're kind of like creating film now, do you kind of do your own storyboard? Do you only have like one version of a storyboard? Do you have like several different versions with like different like new cool techniques that you want to try out? How do you kind of go about visioning everything before you actually film?
I will say that's my biggest skill set, I think, is I'm pretty good at sequencing. Northern Pie is very simple. Going back to that first before
Hmm.
after Northwood Pie, I did two horror short films and then the drawing feature film. But Northwood Pie,
Hmm.
again, going back to how to make a movie, I understood the simplicity of it in a way that if we
Yeah.
kept to a certain rhythm and a certain pace, people would latch on. But also shooting that movie was very basically done. I had a plan for everything, but if you watch that film, we're at a lake and it's like a two shot,
Hmm.
a single, and then a bonus like shot to like start or end the scene on. And I kind of just
Hmm.
I did that for the whole movie. And that's why I get mad
Yeah.
now when I watch any big movie or Hollywood movie that has really basic coverage. A lot of times I get pretty upset because I'm like, it's a $200 million movie. Why is the coverage the same as my $12,000
Yeah.
movie? Like for some scenes, but
Yeah.
I did it because I didn't know what I was doing yet. And I had and the comfortability for
Hmm.
me was as long as I have a two shot and a single, I can find it in
Hmm.
post. But that was also a movie that just people talking. So then going on to do horror stuff, like the next two short films I made, there's really no talking. It's all sequencing.
Hmm.
Ding Your Dead is a killer microwave short I made, and that is 76 cuts and like 72 shots. So every shot's a new shot. And then same thing with the drawing short film and with the drawing feature, it's a combination of styles, but all the horror scenes are pretty much every shot's a new shot driving. Luckily for me,
Hmm.
I mean, I have a pretty good skill set of just like sitting down and figuring it out whenever I finally put my mind to something. I'm constantly all day
Yeah.
just coming up with ideas, thinking about something. But like for Northwood Pie, even like when we finally sat down to write the movie, remember Todd, the writer, was just like, "So what's the movie?" And I just sat down and went, "It's this." And I wrote down 20 scenes in order, and like there's one
Yeah.
scene different, and like that's the movie today. And the same thing with the
Yeah.
Ding You're Dead, I just finally one day went, okay, what's it? And I went shot one, shot two, and I just wrote in like 30 minutes, 72 shots in a row.
Oh my
And
God.
same thing kind of with the drawing short film. But it's just so it's kind of tough trying to think of questions. So I guess I focus in on the confidence of knowing that
Hmm.
it's just telling the story with a shot. So I just kind of remind myself that.
Do you have like certain like shots you kind of envision, or do you have like
Oh,
several different versions that you like want to try out
yeah.
or
So I plan it all out and I do have different versions for something. So like especially for the feature, for the short film, the drawing, everything was exactly how it is because the other thing as
yeah.
someone who produces their movies, I kind of limit myself in my vision to what can be achieved. And there's a couple
Hmm.
times where I stretch it and you realize, oh, I kind of messed up. But for this drawing feature, for example, for almost all the horror scenes, I had multiple versions. So like I would, as I told you, I would do like shots with my friend and my girlfriend, and I would block it out. But there
Hmm.
was scenes
Yeah.
where like I blocked out three different versions. I blocked out like, hey, here's the simplest
Wow.
version. If we only have this much time and we don't have
Yeah.
the equipment, then I'm going to shoot the scene this way.
Hmm.
If we can, I'd like to shoot this way and do this and this. And so I would have like
Hmm.
for a lot of horror scenes, I would have like version A, B, and C, and then it would kind of
Hmm.
be depending on what we could achieve is kind of the version I would
Hmm.
pivot to. But I was comfortable with all of those knowing. And I think it's the same thing with like hiring people. And this is for people in other positions. I also recommend this for not a knock on anyone who worked on the movie, but like when I was working on the feature, I was trying to find a makeup
Hmm.
artist. And the makeup artist I was originally talking to, I didn't quite have a full budget. But that
Hmm.
seemed to be a problem for her. For 2 weeks, we were chatting, and I thought I made it clear what I want in the movie, what's doable, and I gave a range of the budget we're going to have. But for 2 weeks, she couldn't really commit or couldn't really tell me what it was going to look like or what was going to be achievable. She kind of would every call be
Hmm.
like, "Okay, but what's the budget?" So the DP then recommended me another makeup artist. I called that makeup
Hmm.
artist. I had the same conversation with her. I told her I don't know the budget, gave a range. The next day at night, I got an email. And that email says, if you have this much money, here's what we can do. If you
Mm.
have this much money,
Yeah.
here's what I can do. And if you have this much money, here's what I can do. And ultimately, I ended up going with
Hmm.
her. And it's not a knock on the other girl. The other girl's talented, but there was a
Yeah.
maybe miscommunication because I kept asking for something, but that person went above and
Hmm.
beyond, and like she wanted the job basically. And I just mean
Hmm.
like,
She was taking the
I think
initiative.
yes, so I think taking initiative is always the case, and you as a director or writer, producer, whatever you're doing, like you need to be able to know that can get thrown out. So even if you make a spec script and sell it,
Hmm.
or you're going to be on set, like you should
Yeah.
know as a writer, they may completely change it. So you should always be aware and just ready, you to
Hmm.
pivot at any point in time, because that's the number one thing I think you learn as like a director is that like you know, things don't work and you have to adjust. On every size, every movie, like location and timing matters. Like even a $200 million movie, if it's raining, it's not supposed to rain when they're outside. They either have to adjust the scene or change it.
Hmm.
In Northwood Pie, there was a scene where it was supposed to be because there was never a scene of them outside at junior college hanging out, and there was a whole scene plan where they're like
Hmm.
in the quad outside doing homework.
Yeah.
And as we were all driving down from LA, it was pouring rain. But
Okay.
money's being spent. People are driving down. I have actors. I'm hiring people. So you just had to go, okay. I
Hmm.
also didn't have a scene that's a kind of a takeout place. There's only like three tables. But I was
Hmm.
like, okay, let's stage a scene in there. There was no scene of people eating in there. How about now they're eating pizza and Crispin, who works at the pizza place, instead of being off at school, he's got a 5 minute break. And he's like, hey, I'm on my break. He gives them a pizza. He sits down, they talk, and then they get up. So it's like you had to pivot in real time in 40 minutes. Oh, we have to do this. And I think that happened on the drawing a few times, and I feel like that happens on every movie I listen to the making of. There's something they wanted to do or planned on doing, and then that day, that hour, something happens, and you have to adjust. And I think the same thing I've learned from working with actors. This is what I learned on the drawing, I would say, is that because I was first time working with real professional actors. Like everyone in the drawing
Hmm.
has been in movies and television shows and is like, a
Hmm.
real working actor with faces that you
Yeah.
recognize. Um,
Yeah.
but what I learned from that is that they don't need, and some actors do, but they don't need all the information. Because before working with non-actors, other people, I may be over directing because it's like I'm
Hmm.
explaining the whole scene, what the camera's gonna do, what's this gonna do. And on this movie, I learned like, oh, you kind of just need to like the actors just need to know what they're gonna do. And you
Hmm.
kind of so it's like I don't know. I think that's kind of I guess more advice. Yeah.
How did you pivot from writing something about like kind of like life as a college student, trying to find their own way to horror shorts and then to like actually producing it into a feature? How did you always know you wanted to kind of dabble in all different genres, or was it something that just kind of came up?
So it's like it's true, but like to me, it's like the only thing I want to make is like Indiana Jones. Like I'm obsessed. Like I was
Yeah,
saying before, like my favorite. I'm looking. I got an Indiana Jones poster here. There's a Mummy poster there. I got a Mummy Returns poster here. I got a Pirates of the Caribbean
yeah,
poster there. I've got like a Star Trek poster here, right,
yeah,
above me here. You can see the Mummy poster there. So like as a
yeah.
kid, was what it was, and I always wanted to make that. And the first movie I actually wrote an outline to. And my dream,
Yeah.
and basically I joke, the only thing I'm doing, all these movies I don't want to make. I do. But it's like I just want to make my 1946 adventure movie that I wrote. My big swashbuckling adventure movie. And I have like a list of like 40 outlines for all different sizes and budgets, but I kind of
Yeah.
just I like all types of movies, and besides big movies, I really like stripped down rom-coms, and I love walk and talks. I like Richard
Mhm.
Linklater. I like Mike Lee films. So I was kind of just doing what I can do. So like Northwood Pie, I knew I could shoot at the pizza place, and it's like I knew I
Mhm.
could shoot at my house and this house, and I knew in Orange County that I could just because if you watch Northwood Pie, every scene you're not at the pizza place, every location is a new location. That's how
Mhm.
you keep the movie fresh, even as
Yeah.
and feeling there. It's like they're at the park. They're at the lake. They're at the hill
Mhm.
overlooking everything. And you kind of drive the movie forward by that. So I just knew I could make that movie. So I wrote that movie and Clerks. I mean, Clerks was a really big inspiration to me. Um, and like Swingers and El Mariachi, like all these movies that people made for like 10, 15 grand in high school is
Yeah.
what drove me to be like, we're going to do that ourselves when we graduate college. So that was always the plan. But the plan is to get the next step up. And then horror for me, if I'm being honest, I'm actually not the biggest horror fan. I'm like not a big horror movie guy. But I
Wow.
love but I love suspense. And what I don't think people realize is that all movies are horror movies. Indiana Jones is a horror. Those are movies that are directed by horror people. Peter Jackson is a horror
Yeah.
filmmaker. Like if you watch Lord of the Rings, there's horror in that movie. When they're underneath and the ring raid's above them, that's a horror sequence. In
Hmm.
The Mummy, when the guy loses his glasses and he's like
Yeah.
stumbling around and the Emotep's running around, he's like scared turning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a horror scene, and it's like suspense is horror, and you realize that action is horror. Like Steven Spielberg's really a horror filmmaker, even though he doesn't make horror movies. That's why he's so good. Like
Hmm.
if you watch Indiana Jones, either of those movies, or for example, in the third movie, there's a part where, if you've seen the movies, there's like at the end of the film, he has to go do three challenges, and people have gotten their heads like chopped off before doing that. So he walks into this
Yeah.
temple thing, and the moment he walks in, the camera is low, handheld, looking up. And it's like if that shot is locked
Hmm.
off or on a dolly, smooth, his shoulder length, you don't feel suspense. Why is it suspenseful? Because
Hmm.
it's low, because it's handheld. That's the horror understanding of the sequencing. And in the first one, it's a similar thing where when they go through the temple in the beginning in the pre-title, or not pre-title, it's actually a post-title, but the prologue of the movie, it's all kind of camera, it's all locked off, it's all smooth dollies. And then the moment it cuts to his POV and he's trying to dodge the diamonds on the ground, he's he's like it's handheld and it's scary. It's like so I just as
Yeah.
I always understood that like if you can make a microwave scary like My Killer Microwave short or a drawing scary like
Hmm.
then you can make anything scary. You can make a dinosaur scary or a tidal
Hmm.
wave or whatever it is. It all comes from suspense. And also as a person who likes horror and did like North of Pie, it allows you to practice techniques that frankly you can't do in dramas. Like, if I'm not going to make a drama, I'm not spinning the camera. I'm not doing dolly zooms.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be doing all of these. I'm not going to, there's a part, I'm above, the door opens when she opens, there's a shot in the drawing where it's like you're above the
Yeah.
door and the door opens, but like it like spins as the door opens down on her. Like, I wouldn't do
Hmm.
any of those stuff in drama. And those are techniques that I wouldn't be learning, that all those techniques would be applied to if I got hired to go make any action film or any adventure
Yeah.
movie, any fantasy movie. Because if you make a fantasy movie and you're not twisting the camera at any point, and you're not on a dolly, and you're not doing anything Dutch, and you're not dolly
Yeah.
zooming, it's like, well, why are you making a movie like that? And you're not
Yeah.
getting tight shots of just an eye or just the lips, or it's like you have to
Hmm.
kind of. So I always like knew that as a practice for that, and then also to be blunt, what I've been telling people the whole time is that's how you break in. You know, you have to make such an amazing drama. Like Northwood Pie, I'm disappointed
Yeah.
because it could have got a better release. It just didn't. I made it for 12. I wanted 20. People didn't believe, and then I had to change some things. And I just feel like if I got the right eyes on it, and if I had a little bit more like belief, I had one producer, I think I could have got into like Sundance or Slam Dance. And I feel like I'd already be making more
Hmm.
movies. But oh well. So you have to keep learning from that. But like horror movies is the way to break in. I simply looked at every movie director who like kind of broke in, who's not making some
Hmm.
Oscar type of thing, and it's horror. It's like if you look up the director of any movie, it's like, oh, they did four random horror movies, and now they did that. So my whole
Yeah.
goal in life is I'm planning to make a film like The Drawing every 2 or 3 years until I'm
Yeah.
40, and at some point, I'm waiting for just someone to call and say, hey, do you want to do Annabelle 29? And I would be like, yes, I would love to do Annabelle 29. And then you do Annabelle 29, you turn it in on budget,
Yeah.
you turn it in on time, and you make sure it's at least better than half of the other Annabelle movies. As long as it's better than 14 of the other 29 Annabelle movies, then I know what, then I'm gonna get another movie. And then I
Yeah.
can make a real film, and then you can break in. Like you look at the guy who did the Shazam movies, or he did horror short films. He made the
Hmm.
Lights Out short film. Then he got a Lights Out feature film from Warner Brothers. They gave him Annabelle. Then they gave him Shazam.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, that's kind of the path for a lot of these filmmakers. The guy who did the Godzilla vs. Kong movie, it's like he did like six
Hmm.
horror movies and then he got Godzilla vs. Kong. So I kind of, in my own mindset, I'm just like, well, you know, I want to make, in a way, I want to make pop movies in a sense. I guess you could turn that like a pop music extension. And it's like some people, and I
Hmm.
like other type of films, but like I'd rather make, not, I don't actually want to make like Jurassic Park 29, but I'd rather make a film like Indiana Jones or something that I
Yeah.
would win an Oscar, like personally.
Mm.
Like if you were like, hey, you can win 3 Oscars or you can go like direct the next James
Yeah.
Bond, like I would want to direct the James Bond movie. That's just me.
Yeah.
So it's like I know the taste I have. And also every decision I make, I'm always thinking about everyone in the world. I'm like, what does a random grandma in South America think? What
Hmm.
does this kid over here in Europe think? I'm just like, my number one thing is engagement. Like for me personally, and this is a difference for some people, but like, if 100 people watch my movie, I would rather 100 people give it a B than 50 people give it an A
Yeah.
and 50 people give it a C. Like my number one
Mm,
goal for me is I want everyone to be entertained. My number one goal as a filmmaker is if you sit
yeah.
there, don't look at your phone and watch the whole movie, I succeeded. And
Hmm.
that's step one. So it's like, and I want the most people in the world to be able to sit down and watch it. So that's kind of how I would think. So in a way, I'm doing these movies because I think that's the best path. But you're saying I
Yeah.
like all genres and I do want to make every genre, which is why I was initially going to produce movies because I
Hmm.
want to make so many types of films that necessarily you can't or won't. So that's why if I do become a successful director, I instantly would like to produce two movies for every movie I direct because, I can't produce or direct 40 movies in my life. But it's like
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that many movies. I want to be a part of all types of films. That's why being a producer is fun
Hmm.
because you can, oh, I want to make a Tarantino type movie. Well, you can, and you can make a Star Wars movie, and you can go make a drama, and you can go make that, and they can all have different tones and different feelings and different vibes, and you're still a part of it, but you're not being that individual
Yeah.
person. So I guess like yes, I like all the genres. I'm a genre person, but it's because A, I think they're doable, and because I think it's the right career path. Which is weird, but it's not that I'm putting any less passion or myself into it. Like the drawing is really a lot
Hmm.
about my life and my relationships and like Todd's life and
Hmm.
like dealing with I was telling you before, like my stepdad passed away and I'm shooting at my
Hmm.
step grandpa's house and people in the movie have lost loved ones and there's themes that all tie
Yeah.
into. And even when I first start writing something, if I'm just thinking, well, I'm writing this because I know I have these three locations, by the end of the script, it is me in there. And I do want to make it more than anything. So,
Hmm.
yes, but I am meticulously thinking about how can I make a living doing this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Also, you can cut me off if I
You
just
already
keep
have your path tracked.
talking.
No, you're good. I like am taking in everything because I love listening to other like creatives' perspectives and just their thought process. So I would gladly sit here and listen to you talk
Okay. I
like
don't get to talk about
all
movies
day.
often, so it's fun to talk about movies. Yeah, and I can talk all day, obviously.
No, yeah. So jumping off of that, do you usually create your scripts off of locations first or like story first? Do you think of the story first or do you think of where I can be filming before you write said
So
story?
what I've made so far, everything I've made so far is based off location, and what
Okay.
I can achieve. Now I have a bunch of outlines and things written and things I want to
Yeah.
do that are all not based
Hmm.
off that. But again, approaching it like 12,000, I knew I could get a pizza place. I knew I could shoot those things. And then
Hmm.
for the drawing short film, that's my girlfriend's
Hmm.
house and my grandpa's house. And I knew my grandpa has a house with, I don't know if you watched the short, I think you did watch short. Yeah. There's the two
Yeah, I
doors,
did. The
right? I
show
knew
was
grandpa
amazing.
had a bathroom with two open doors. I'm like, that's the
Hmm.
scene. I want to make a scene like
Yeah.
just that you're vulnerable, right? You pull your pants down, you're naked, you're sitting on a toilet,
Hmm.
and you can look left and the doors are open and it can come from either direction. So like I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, let's write a thing around that. And then the feature
Yeah.
is the same thing where like I knew that I could shoot at my grandpa's house. I knew that like I
Hmm.
could block off part of my grandpa's house and keep him. So I was like, and how do you make a movie cheap, right? In my mind, the drawing, I got 300 grand,
Hmm.
but I was writing it initially. How can I make a movie for $50,000? Because I made one for
Hmm.
12. How can I make one for 50?
Yeah.
And it's like use what you know. And I had the location, and it's like, well, how do you keep someone in a location? Well, she's on house arrest. And the idea initially started for the movie where it's like, well, every movie I've seen on house arrest, including Disturbia, which is a big influence on the movie, which is funny also because it's like, I'm in for is that too? Everyone's seen it. It's like that's 20 years old now. It's crazy how time works. Because in my
Yeah.
mind, it's like, most people haven't seen it, but everyone is feels like they want to get off of it, right? They're so angry. Oh, they can't wait to get
Hmm.
off of it. They're just like, why am I on house arrest? But I thought, okay, what if the inverse? What if this person is slavish to it? What if she feels like she deserves it? And what if we don't know exactly why she's on house arrest, but we're uncovering this as we go? So it's like I just kind of do put myself, and I do like locking myself into certain things. I think that's another problem with directing in general, and why movies have gotten worse a lot of times with this expansion of CG in some ways, is because
Hmm.
you don't have to make decisions and you can go along
Yeah.
as you guess and you can do anything, but like limitations are great. Limitations create suspense. Limitations are why Jaws
Hmm.
is great. Limitations, a shark
Yeah.
didn't work. Limitations is why Jurassic Park is good, because like when the T-Rex shows up, it's not about it's before it's the water gurgling, it's the thing shaking, it's him fixing his tie, it's him lifting the goggles, like it's everything around it
Hmm.
that builds up to that moment. So it's like I try to put myself, at least in this, always with a bunch of limitations because it's like I have to. So it's like I am pro, and it helps with shots too. Like you can kind of come up with scenes, but like you really don't know, right, until you get to the house. Oh, this is the living room we can use. So I sequence the
Hmm.
scene that doesn't work in here. So like locations are what spark shots for me.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I guess I've always written everything to location so far. Like the Being Your Dead horror short film, even the microwave one, that was at my boss's house. I knew I could shoot at my boss's house.
Yeah.
I like that my boss had a long hallway. Like there's always something that
Yeah.
you can kind of pick from. And that's just
Hmm.
because that's just being an indie filmmaker. I can't wait to know to build sets. I watch the making of movies, and it's crazy to think I forget too. I watch movies all the time, and it's like, oh, that's not a real place. They built that set, and it's like they're in there
Yeah.
for 20 seconds. There are three shots in this movie, and they built this giant, beautiful set that you don't even see all the details
Hmm.
of. And it's like, it's hard. I want to make movies that size, and it's hard for me to ever be like, is that worth the money? Like, it's just, I'm so stuck in like making films yourself. But I also think that that's
Yeah.
what you do. And going back to this, sorry, is on top of that, you have to make films what you can afford to do. And that's also what makes me mad with a lot of these Netflix movies and stuff. I got really mad. Example, it's random,
Hmm.
but like there's a Liam Neeson movie I walked on there. It's like Ice Road. Like there's a random explosion 30 minutes in, and it is like the fakest looking explosion you've ever seen. I mean, it looks
Hmm.
like a Disney Channel original if they had an explosion in 2002. And it's like
Yeah.
if you can't afford it, you don't write it into your script or don't do it. You can so you should be able to you only do what you execute. So for example, Norfolk Pie, like I said, was very simply shot. Initially in my mind, I want everything to be Steven Spielberg. I always wanted to do all the
Yeah.
blocking. I wanted this character to leak here, and they're going to walk here, and they're going to do that. And it's like, well, we can't afford a
Yeah.
boom, and we don't have a jib, we don't have a steady cam. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, it's kind of realism hits you. And I was like, okay. And also,
Yeah.
it would make it feel cheesier. Like in North of Pie, if you see the movie, there is a sequence toward the end where they're in a car driving, and it's after he kind of gets, in a way,
Hmm.
rejected by the girl. It doesn't really work out. So he's driving
Yeah.
home. And it's the most emotional scene in the movie. And both of these guys are not actors, they're friends. And I know they've never acted before. And they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
But I staged the whole scene behind them and you
Hmm.
see they're in a car, so you see the both of them from the behind. And we're at a gas station in the beginning, so you can see the geography, you see where they are, but then they drive along and they're in darkness for a lot of it. And you never really see their face. They turn here and there. And what that allowed was it gave them more comfortability with the camera not in their face. I could take
Hmm.
sound from other clips also and make my best
Yeah.
take. But what that really did was it fit the tone of the movie and the budget. If I had got in front of their face and got a nice camera shot or a dolly, it would actually feel
Hmm.
cheap because I would be trying to execute something that I couldn't quite achieve, right? So you have to play. Clerks is a good movie because it's black and white and it's shot very, and it adds to the aesthetic. It makes its own thing. If Clerks was shot today on 4K and dollars, it would feel really cheap. You'd be like, oh, this is just some
Hmm.
like really cheap, like TikTok looking, YouTube
Yeah.
sketch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not because it played to its budget. He didn't try to overthink. If you try to make Avatar with $50 million, it's going to look awful. You
Yeah.
have to do what you can. So it's like play to your budget, play to your strength. So I think North of Pie worked because I was doing that. And even with the drawing, it's a similar thing where half of the scenes I get away with, doing more creative stuff but there's also half the
Hmm.
scenes are more simply shot and simply done because you can only do what you can get away with and what you can execute. And it's better to execute something correctly than to be like, look at this cool idea that I only executed halfway. Yeah.
I feel
So,
like that's a big thing that a lot of my professors say too. Like, even if you have like really big ideas, if you can't get it perfectly the way that it should be, it won't look good. Like, people are just gonna see that it was half-assed kind of, even if you like tried your best. But if you didn't have the money for it, you don't have the technology, it kind of doesn't work. And I feel like you're not putting your best work out there, which you want to be.
mhm. Yeah.
So
No,
it
I
is
agree.
like good to be able to rein it in
Mhm.
and do what is achievable.
That also works on like a tonal level. And for me, this is kind of why, and not to be anti, but movies like the Marvel movie stuff, I guess I'm not into that humor. I do not like, sorry, I don't like meta movies. I don't like meta humor. I don't like the undercutting tension a lot. And for
Hmm.
me, it's weird because when I grew up, that didn't exist, and I grew up as a little kid watching since movies were sincere. And then in high school, they got
Hmm.
like post 9/11 serious, but I was still 14, 15
Mm.
of those. And then now in my 20s and stuff is like irreverent, and I don't really get that. But for me, what I mean by that is the reason that happened is because it's easier. And it's not a knock on those movies, but if you think about it, it's for Lord of the Rings, for example, right? Like the thinness when you make something that sincere, or a drama, or anyone that wins an Oscar, or like the difference between a home run and an out, they always say is a foot, right? It either goes over the fence or the guy's right there and he
Hmm.
catches it. An inch is the
Yeah.
difference between a touchdown and I'm short. And it's the same thing with that, where it's like you swing for the fences on the ring. If it's 5% not that, it's cheesy, right? If you're not, if you can't get the audience to commit, it's cheesy. The difference between great and
Hmm.
cheesy is actually very, very thin, right? The difference between winning an Oscar
Hmm.
and winning a Razzie is actually that thin. It's the commitment. It's like, oh, you were just
Yeah.
by 5% on that performance and it's too outlandish. It's too weird. But when you undercut yourself, it's like they're trying, they know they're not trying to hit a home run. They're like, we're never going to make the audience fully commit or fully believe this is happening. We're going to constantly say,
Hmm.
don't worry, it's a movie. And then it's like,
Yeah.
it's easy to get a single. It's easy to say, oh, I'm just going to try to do this and not do all the way that. So I feel like it's the same thing there where it's
Hmm.
like, it's your fear of commitment because it's like it is such a thin thing between success and failure. And it's like sometimes easier to just say like, okay, I'll chip away, you know. So it's like you do have to know what you're doing and play to your strengths. Anyways, yeah. That's kind
Hmm. And for the drawing, did you kind of have to do that like when you were writing the short film? Like, did you have to kind of cut down on stuff that you wanted to do, or were you able to do that in the feature?
You know, the short film, it was everything I wanted to do for the most part. I mean, not everything was executed right, but that was
Hmm.
kind of the plan. And I think that, and what I
Hmm.
learned in the drawing short film actually, and it's something to learn for everybody, is that
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you get what you get and it's better for that and you figure it out. And there is stuff
Hmm.
too, like a lot of times it's happened on everything I've done where like I'll watch the dailies and then I'll be like really mad at myself. Like for the drawing
Mm.
short film, for example, and I've almost forgotten now because it's been a little while, but there's a part where
Yeah.
after she goes to the bathroom, like the third act of it, when she goes up and closes the
Hmm.
window and walks by, the drawing is now finished. And if you actually look closely, like the hand comes off and the eyes move like just so it like follows.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
initially I was disappointed because I thought like it's not so clear. And I should have
Hmm.
got a separate shot. Like I should have not dollied all the way down. I should have broken
Mm.
it up like she closed it. I should have got a separate shot, like pushing in on the drawing. She walks by to make it clear for the audience that something, and then I cut back. But then in the process of making it and editing it, I came up with the idea of what if the actual thing comes off the, you know, now that what if the drawing comes off
Mm.
of the easel in this shot? That was never the plan, but because I did,
Okay.
and I actually think it's better than what I planned before, you know, what the initial shot was. And I feel like every project I've done, and it
Hmm.
makes sense. And sometimes you're going to get mad. You realize you wish you should have done
Yeah.
what you did. But you know, you do, there's a reason you did what you did. So it's like you can always find a way to improve it. Like, okay, well, I had the dolly
Hmm.
there because this, and this. It's okay to not be, and how do I make that better? So I think it's always about like, you know, you do have to kind of trust your instinct. On the drawing feature, there was a lot. It was like the first time. I was actually kind of most upset in the way it was the least I've ever gotten done to what I wanted to do. I actually
Hmm.
had like everything was most of the stuff was toned down or not executed the way that I necessarily. And it's all fine, and we live with it, and it works great, and we adjusted. But like, you know, if I before doing it, if I had okay, these are the 10 money shots I want, I probably only got like three or
Hmm.
four because just like
And what?
timing or execute.
Hmm.
We just and it's not critical crew, but like it's not the crew. I have ideas that are if basically if this was a like same thing with the Ding Your Dead short. Like if this was if I had a James Wan crew, if this was a Warner Brothers movie, we could execute these things no
Hmm.
problem. But it's not. And we just have people,
Yeah.
and we're at my grandpa's house, and we can't tear that wall out. And we can get that shot if you want, but then you can't shoot these other four shots, you know? And it's like, even though we tried to plan
Hmm.
for them, not everything was properly done. And in general, I will say, not, but like, I feel like I think everyone should have been a little bit more, because I made the whole video before of everything with everything planned, and not everyone on the movie
Yeah.
watched it because it's like there was a feeling of the crew, you have to like earn their trust on a movie like this because like they
Mm.
don't know who I am, they don't think I know what I'm doing. So there is a lot
Hmm.
of pushback in the first week of like, I remember day one we got everything I wanted, but there was like, are you sure you need these shots? And I was like, yes, this shot cuts to this shot, cuts to that shot, and there's a lot of like
Yeah.
things. But yeah, I mean, you just have to adjust, you know. I think it's just like end of the day, that's what's fun about directing. You can do all the planning in the world. And why I think I'm
Yeah.
good at it and like can let stuff go is like you got 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes to get this shot. You got to make it the best you can. When it is at a
Yeah.
certain point, it is what it is. You just got to live with it. And it's like,
Hmm.
okay, you know, that's kind of the scary part, but the fun about
Hmm.
it, it's crazy that like, you know, you can plan for a year on something and then all right,
Hmm.
you got 5 minutes left till lunch. It's you know, it's like you got to get this shot, or we're gonna pay people extra, or we can't shoot the next scene.
Hmm.
So it's like you just gotta do the best you can. So, but you have to have the
Yeah.
confidence in yourself, I think, to do that. I think that's what it's strict. That's what's tough. It's like not being cocky, but being confident. And it's like, because you can't get rattled. Because even if you feel like you didn't get that shot,
Mhm.
like, well, now I'm shooting another scene. I can't even worry about that scene, you know?
And so, like, what was the process like jumping from Northwood Pie, 12K, and then the drawing short film, and then now to the feature, which was, you said 300K? How did that kind of like happen? Was it like a grant? Did you have like a production company like giving you some money? Like, how did that all kind of culminate to that becoming a feature film and then you filming it, like finding a casting crew and all that?
So I got really lucky, like everybody. 'Cause that's why I also don't get mad at people in the sense of like, I mean, we all get mad watching other people's success because you go like,
Yeah, yeah.
like they only got that because they know this person, and they only got that because
Mm,
they're this filmmaker. Or people might go further and they're, this, that, this, whatever excuse you want to make. Yeah, you're dealt the cards you're dealt, and you play the hand you're given. And
mhm,
it's when you get that opportunity, whether it happened to you young or old, whether it was fully earned or not, like you have to execute that and succeed. So it's like you can't let that bring you down. And what I mean by that is like getting lucky with this was that, I thought Northwood Pie was good and great, but it took a while to get out there. And then I got kind of screwed over with
yeah.
COVID. I was supposed to get
Hmm.
I was getting a 2 week theatrical engagement at this one theater, and I had lined up like the LA Times, and I was getting a bunch of film critics to
Hmm.
come. That
Yeah.
was supposed to come out April 2020. So then COVID hit in
Wow.
March. All that gets delayed. My movie ends up getting dumped on streaming on like, Tubi and Amazon Prime and stuff
Hmm.
on like in August with no marketing. And I got reviews and stuff, but I never got LA Times or any big publication and anything. So, you kind of found
Mm.
out. But what happened was every single morning or almost every morning, I would just tweet 10 people the movie. Like I went through my follower list and tweeted everybody. If they didn't reply, I just unfollowed
Yeah.
them. And then whatever I did every month, but I would just go to like a random post and just like follow
Yeah.
all the people who like that movie post. I'm like, oh, the
Hmm.
Oscars post something. Here's 100 people like, and or follow,
Yeah.
and then I would just send it slowly. And for literally 3, 4 years, I was doing that. And when the drawing short came out, I would do
Yeah.
that with some things. And I got like some quotes from
Hmm.
some people because of from filmmakers from doing that. But no one watched Northwood Pie who was important. Like no one really cared. But
Hmm.
one day, a random guy finally like just a TV exec in his bio. I didn't even know who he was. But I'm sending like
Yeah.
10, 15 of these out a day blindly. I don't even know who these people are. I'm just like, watch my movie. Here
Yeah.
it is. Link, check it out. Let me know what you think. And like
Yeah.
spamming Twitter. And all of a sudden, one day, after like 3.5 years doing this, when I'm always like, should I do this? Should I not? Sometimes I would stop for a month
Yeah.
and then 2 months straight, and then I wouldn't do it. But all of a sudden, one day, this guy's like, "Hey, I'm gonna watch your movie. Let me," I'm like, "Oh, great!" And like 2 days later, he DM'd me, and it was just like 8 paragraphs, like, "Loved your film. You're so talented." Da, da, da.
Oh
And
my
then like,
God.
let's talk on the phone. So I talked to him on the phone, and we talked for like 30 minutes on the phone, got along, and I'm like, "Hey, can I pick your brain? Like, I'd love to." Talk more about film and movies with you and stuff and get
Hmm.
coffee. And he said, sure. How about Friday? And I said, well, actually, I'm finishing up the drawing short film. I'll be done in 2 weeks. How about
Yeah.
I see you that in 2 weeks? You watch it and then we can meet up. He said, great. So I finished the drawing short film. I sent him that.
Hmm.
And then he watched it. Then we met up. And he was very impressed because Northwood Pie, of course, is like a walk and talk, like Clerksy, Richard
Hmm.
Linklater inspired kind of like coming of age movie.
Yeah.
And the drawing has no dialogue. It's just with no story. It's just a girl who wakes up and goes to the bathroom and goes back in her room.
Hmm.
But the sequencing and the filmmaking and the suspense. So he saw the talent there, I guess. And when we sat down, he basically, he offered me a job at Net to try to. He was trying to develop something with
Wow.
Netflix where, cause I didn't know he was, I guess he produces like the Rookie television show on ABC and he produced some
Oh,
Netflix stuff.
wow.
And he had produced two movies like 10 years ago that cost like $2 and $5 million. But he
Hmm.
was trying to hire me to do some sketch reality show with like kids in their 20s. And
Ah.
he was like, oh, Northwood Pie, you'd like that. And I just told him straight up, like, I was like, listen, dude, I hate reality. I do not watch television. I have no desire to make
Yeah.
TV. I have no desire to make reality. I only care about making movies. And then
Yeah.
he just thought I was bold because I'm poor. I don't have a job. I've like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm just struggling as a PA and like the industry's down, there's strikes
Yeah.
happening. And, this person is like, I want to develop a thing with Netflix with you, maybe. And I'm just like, nah, I'm good, bro. I'm making this movie. And he was like, well, send me the script. I was like, no, and I sent the script. I sent the script there at lunch. I go home. I played FIFA for like 2 hours on my Xbox, and then I got a
Yeah.
call. He was like, I read the script. I want to make the movie. I've produced a movie in 10 years. I want to do it.
Mhm.
And what lucky for me is like before I was already planning to make this movie. So I was already going to shoot at my grandpa's house. I was already designing this whole movie to
Mhm.
be, I said 50, but now I'd raised $80,000 through all these different people. I had 80
Mhm.
grand. So I was going to make my own version with the own
Yeah.
cast. And the leading lady in the drawing feature is the leading lady in the short, who's the leading girl in Northrop Pie. So I brought her.
Mhm.
I was still gonna cast. She's still gonna be the lead, but there was gonna be no one else around her. Again, like North Pie, a bunch of nobodies.
Yeah.
What happened was because I got this producer involved, it made the movie legit. That I was
Mhm.
able to get those people who gave me 80 grand between all those investors. I
Mhm.
raised 270 from them because the guy who was gonna give me
Wow.
10, once I got on a Zoom call, and now he was gonna give me 10 already, and now he's zooming with the guy
Yeah.
who's producer of The Rookie and producer of this Netflix.
Mm.
And he's telling him, no, Jay Smart, this script is great. Like, we're gonna make money. Like, da da
Yeah.
da da. He was like, I'll give $35,000. And it was like, oh, so
Oh,
everyone can
wow.
up their thing. Like, this person was gonna give me five. They
Yeah.
gave me 15. My other friend who was gonna give me the most, they were committed to 35,000. He ended up giving like 90. And then the
Wow.
producer himself covered the last 30. He put in he put in the last 30,000. So it's still the people we knew, but it gave a legitimacy. And then getting lucky again with that, like I also was making a list before of like actors, quote unquote gettable actors, someone I knew I could
Yeah.
afford for a day or two or three or
Mhm.
five. So I kind of already had a list for the roles of getting one actor that I was
Mhm.
going to reach out to hopefully for the $80,000 version. Then I sent him that list, and I got lucky where like I sent him a list of five actors, and then like my top choice, he was like, I know this guy. I have his number. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I can Tyler Labine's number. I was like, oh, he's like, don't you know I produced a movie with him? I was like, oh, I don't know what you've done in your career. And he was like, cool. So, but then he's like, listen, 3% chance he does this movie. It's a little movie. And we didn't have all the money then
Mhm.
yet either, because we still didn't know the size of it. And he was like, oh, it's like
Mhm.
3% chance. He sent him the script, and like 5 days later, he called me and he was like, Tyler Labine called his agent and told his agent he doesn't
Yeah.
care, not going to make any money. He wants to do this movie. And because he wanted to do the movie, it made the producer, who was now like, oh, wow, maybe it's better than I thought. So then he sent the script to like someone that on his TV show and was like, they might be good for this part. And
Wow.
they read it and liked it right away. And then eventually Tyler
Mm.
Labine's agent then read it. And agent was like, oh, I like this. I also represent this mildly famous lady, which, she should be in it. And so it was really like, honestly, it all just came from me like posting, like tweeting on Twitter, which,
Uh-huh.
by the way, now I wouldn't necessarily recommend. It's not the same social media site it
Yeah.
was like
Mhm.
2023. And a lot of people have like left, and it's like I don't even think I don't know, it's not very active from like, that aspect of it. It's kind of we don't need to talk about Twitter or X or whatever it is.
Mhm.
We all know
Yeah.
what that place is like now. Or like it
Yeah.
already was, right? But like but it all worked out. Like, but again, you still have to take the chances. Like I still had to like meet
Mhm.
with him, convince him, show him the short film. He had to read the script.
Mhm.
I still had to convince the actors. Some of those actors like, oh, I have to meet Jay first. I had to have a Zoom. I had to convince the people. I had to raise the
Mhm.
money. So like even though I was still given that opportunity I felt I earned earlier. Like personally, I thought I should have got that opportunity before, which everyone feels that way.
Yeah.
But when it comes, you take it and you succeed. And thankfully, it worked out. All the actors liked me, and they told their agents I did a good job, and the
Mhm.
managers I did a good job, and the crew had a great time. And it seems
Yeah.
like when this movie comes out on October, I'm not sure if it's going to Hulu or Shutter or Lionsgate or wherever it goes ends up
Mhm.
going. I'm confident. I'm like, oh, I'll probably get an agent or manager, and it's like, you know,
Yeah.
but you just have to make that happen. Like I tweeted, I looked up, I sent out 2,000 and like 200 or 300 tweets to people,
Oh
and
my
that was the
gosh.
only like person who of remotely any caliber who has any power at
Mhm.
all. Even I mean, $300,000 is nothing for a movie too that size. Like we really should have. It's
Yeah.
really should have had $1 million to be honest with the script, but like it just you still have to like execute it and
Yeah.
you still have to convince people. So even if you get the opportunity, as long as just succeed at it. It's okay. And I mean, I guess I'm good at
Mhm.
like I don't have imposter syndrome. I believe in
Yeah.
myself, which I think goes a long way. Because like I
Yeah.
just believe I can do it. Like, and I never wavered on that. So yeah.
Which is amazing because I feel like a lot of people do. I feel like all of us have or is going through imposter syndrome, but you were just determined, you were focused. And then like it just takes one person to kind of like
That's it.
turn it all around. And you got that one person.
Yeah. I mean, another example for that, for a bigger thing, would be like Ryan Coogler again. Ryan Coogler made a USC short and his thesis, and then he played at the Los Angeles Black Film Festival, I believe it was. And
Mm,
Forrest Whitaker was like on
yeah,
the board of judges at that film festival. And
crazy
Forrest
actually.
Whitaker, you know, watched, or no, oh, sorry, not Forrest Whitaker, Lawrence Fishburne. I think it was. Lawrence Fishburne is at that film festival. He was one
Yeah.
of the judges of this film festival. Ryan Coogler made the best movie at that festival, he thought. He was so inspired, like, wow, there's a young filmmaker who looks like this, who has a voice, comes from a certain area, and I could feel it in his project. And because of that, he asked him, like, we need to make you a real project. And then he ended up writing Fruitville Station and making it great. And it's like, you know, he wasn't thinking when he made that thing that one person's gonna like it, but it was that one person who changed his
Hmm.
opportunity. But again, you can't get mad at him
Yeah.
because just because Forrest Whitaker comes up to you, or I mean, Lawrence Fishburne comes up to you and says, "Hey, good job, we should start working on something," doesn't mean that you're talented enough, or smart enough, or mature enough,
Hmm.
or tempered enough to get that job. He had to do how many other tests did he do along the way to get to that point? But it's like, he took that opportunity and he seized it. And you can't second guess it, and you can't go like, "Oh, I'm so lucky that like, I made
Hmm.
this one of the first film festivals I get into. Some people make and they go make 10 films and they go around the country and play 1,000 film festivals, don't get that opportunity. But when that
Hmm.
opportunity comes, whether it's day one or day 1,000 or day 10,000, you just have to be ready for it. And he was ready for it. So like that I knew that story. So like that was in my mind on the smaller
Yeah.
scale. When Dave responded to me, I was like, this is
Yeah.
my little Ryan Coogler moment.
And how
So
did that casting process go? Because I know like you were talking about Tyler Labine, and then like you also got Bridget Regan and Angel Parker. I think those
yes.
are like the big three. How did that casting process go? Did you
Yeah, so
like
I was saying
were
I
they
got
like always gonna be it, or did you have other people also like kind of trying to get those roles too?
no, so again, like it kind of just lucked out where like it's a movie of certain size where once
Yeah.
Tyler was involved, like it, this the movie's small. There's only like 6 characters in the film because she's on house arrest.
Hmm.
And initially, like I said, it was just gonna be Annika and I was gonna cast people around it. And then when Tyler came
Hmm.
on board, he had a legitimacy to it that like then gave the whole picture that I was able to cast everybody else that I didn't really question anybody else, right? Like Angel
Yeah.
Parker's role was written for someone her type. Like it was written specifically for like a
Hmm.
strong non-white woman, just because
Yeah.
knowing the film is just like there was and I once, but the family ended up being white. Like I was open to anything. But so it was like we have to make
Hmm.
sure I had to try to make sure that like at least the boy next door and the cop and then the son too, like try to make as many roles not. So like it was written that
Hmm.
way, and then it just so turned out that like she's on the Rookie television show that Dave the producer produced.
Yeah.
So she got
Yeah.
on it. And then same with Bridget Regan. It was like she has the same agent as Tyler Labine. So like Tyler Labine's agent
Ah.
just liked the movie and sent it to her. And then it turned out that like she also was on the Rookie. And but I will say I
Yeah.
was because I also already put Bridget on my list and Angel because
Uh-huh.
I also, and this is what you should do, like I knew when Dave came on board the movie, he said make an actor list. I again made a list of people I think I can get, and I looked at everyone on his shows. So I was like, I might, because I'm like, oh, I'm like, I might be able to get. So I like specifically was like kind of
Hmm.
aiming for that, and then I got lucky. Also, another bonus in the movie is Chad Lindbergh, who is the second cop. He's actually Jesse in the first Fast and Furious. He drives the white Jetta. He gets killed. He's like, I don't know,
Oh.
like the guy that's like fixing the car, and he's got
Yeah. Yeah.
ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was the most starstruck with him. I love Fast and the Furious
Oh,
as a
that's
kid. Like he's a super
crazy.
cool guy. So like even he's in the movie, and he's only got like he's got maybe like a few minutes screen time. He's in 3 scenes, but he's only in like
Yeah.
a little bit of it. But it adds so much credibility to the movie. And then the kid in the movie, that was a hard search to try to find a kid.
Yeah.
We ended up getting a kid a little older than I wanted, but it was the right decision,
Hmm.
I guess, because we couldn't find someone younger. But then also making the film, I don't think I would have been able to maybe get all the stuff done timing wise and like because this kid I got was a pro. Even the kid in my movie, for
Hmm.
example, he is Alexander in the new Disney Plus Alexander, the horrible, terrible, bad day thing. So he came on set and he was like
Oh
a
my
really
gosh.
so like he knew how to act, knew how to stand, knew how to do everything,
Yeah.
and he was like really good too. And then the craziest part of casting, I will say, was casting a Don Roca, who plays Neil, the boy next door. He, that was a crazy thing. So basically, the movie was already scheduled and planned, and we had cast somebody
Yeah.
else who lives in Canada. What
Mm.
was why am I blanking on his name right now? I'm bad at blanking on his name. But we cast this actor, and he's in
Yeah.
Canada, and he he basically we couldn't get a visa. Like all of a sudden, like
Oh
one of the producer
no.
called me, he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, he can't be in the movie, couldn't get a visa," and we're like 3 weeks out from shooting, and I'm
Oh.
what do you mean like no one thought about this? We kept him talking to him for months, like we just had
Yeah.
auditions, like he also like
Mm-hmm.
works on like stuff down here all the time, so I don't know. That was a
Mm.
scramble. So we were scrambling to find somebody, and we could not get anybody. And the producer was forcing me because the only person who was half decent in the auditions was a white guy. And not that I was, and I'm not trying to knock on that, but like there was
Yeah.
already, and I was really adamant about the boy next door not being white. And he was good, but
Mm-hmm.
he was kind of like a southerny guy, and which was cool. And he was really,
Uh,
but it just didn't tonally match. And he was good, but he wasn't quite the character.
mm.
And then, and everyone auditioned for audition. We watched a lot of audition tapes. We couldn't find anybody. Basically, like a week before we start shooting, um, Todd
We.
the other writer producer just sent me
Yeah.
a 30-second clip of one guy. Can we ask I asked actually asked one of my friends and he asked his friends and they both recommended us, I guess, the same actor, Adon, this guy that was moved,
Ah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and they sent me just a 30-second clip of him acting and it's on an episode of This Is Us. I watched it, I turned it on, I saw he literally looked up, he said one line, and I was like, I watched it and I was like call him. I mean, to be sure, I double checked. I went on his IMDb. He had one other clip.
Yeah.
I watched the clip.
Yeah.
It was like he was just a completely different character, and I was all I need to see for a second. I'm like, okay, he can act. And then I called everybody, and I rescheduled the whole movie. I had to reschedule the whole movie.
Yeah.
We were going to shoot 5 days, 5 days, 5 days a week, and then the last week 3 days, 18 days. And I had to
Mm-hmm.
like reschedule the whole movie, move Tyler and everyone's scenes, and called all them because I was like, he wasn't available to shoot that first because he
Yeah.
was like in Chicago for something else. So like with
Mm.
just seeing like two 30-second clips, he never auditioned for the movie or anything.
Yeah.
I moved heaven and earth for this guy to be in the movie. And he crushed it. The producer was not into it. Like the whole movie, he was like trying to
Mm.
push us the other way, didn't think it was worth it. I had to convince the
Yeah.
producer, convince the line producer, I had to convince I had to convince everybody.
Oh my
Anyways,
God.
he's the best person in the freaking movie. Not really, but I just mean like he's everyone's favorite. It's his character. He's written.
Yeah.
Everyone who watches the movie is like, wow, the Neil's my favorite character. Neil's like every single person. And when the movie
Yeah.
ended, the producer came up to me and was like, "You were so right. You were the most right ever." And he like gave me a hug, and I was like, "I told you." But that's what I mean with the confidence of like you can see people do different auditions
Mm-hmm.
and come back for callbacks and it's like I saw this guy, I saw three lines, and I was like, I mean, I didn't even see the I mean, literally, when he
Yeah.
looked up, I saw his face, and there was just
Yeah.
a reaction on his face. I was like, this is the guy. Then he opened his mouth, and that was it.
Like the way that there are some actors who are able to tell so much with their eyes. I feel like
Yeah.
that's such a skill, and not a lot of actors do that or are able to do that. And that kid probably did that for you. Like you probably just knew like when they looked up that like
Yeah.
he
I mean,
was
the
it.
thing is about actors and acting, and this is why the drawing feature film is pretty good, and I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's a real movie, and the reason, and everyone who watches it is like, it's a real movie. Like even the composer, like 10 minutes in, was like, this is like a real movie. And they say that because they're real
Yeah.
actors. And there's a difference between if somebody
Hmm.
makes other stuff or goes to film festivals, no, I'm not gonna be, but you go and you watch any features, and it's like there's just something intangible that's like it feels always a little amateur no matter what because the actors are amateur. But
Hmm.
when your actors are
Yeah.
completely professional and you start cutting it together, I'm like, oh, wow, like and it really is just all about casting and actors because like it feels
Yeah.
honest. They're professionals. They do it, and they bring such a level of like realism to the movie and believability. And it's sometimes it's just the look, right? Like it's the people. It's not like Paul Giamatti's not the most attractive guy, but you look at him on screen and
Yeah.
you go, he just looks natural. You want to look at him. He
Yeah.
feels comfortable. There's a comfortability and a confidence that like you can just see it, right? Like you can just look at a still sometimes and go,
Hmm.
that person is that. Like, and pretty much everyone in a major motion picture is good. Like they can command, you know, the screen, and you can just feel
Yeah.
when someone quite can't. And it's not a knock on people. You can even see it in some of like if you look at some of the wrestler actors who've turned or some singers, if you watch their first couple of movies where they get a cameo or they have one scene,
Hmm.
you can feel they you know who they are and you kind of they don't quite feel comfortable yet. And then you can watch, now and it's like, oh, like you don't even think of it. You just think of that as an actor because they feel comfortable in front of the camera. And it's like I realize that's
Hmm.
the biggest thing. That's a hard thing to do. And even now when you look at reels or actors online, it's like it's a tough thing, and I don't know. I don't know. I feel like you either have it or you don't. They say, but it can be learned. But it's just I guess
Hmm.
less really is more. It's like you don't want to feel like someone's trying. It's like it's just weird.
For like all the actors during the filming of the feature, like they just kind of like got into character really quick and
Um, yeah, no, I mean I got lucky again when the actors are so good is that, and they all have different working styles. But for
hmm.
me, it was the easiest I've ever done. I felt like as a director, I almost was like, sometimes I felt like I wasn't directing because I didn't have notes or thoughts because before everything I made is like the horror stuff is technical. Stand here, move your foot, give certain looks, fine. But Northwood Pie and other stuff is like they're amateurs, they're friends. So you really do have to like give certain notes or discuss things and figure things
Hmm.
out. But there was like, I lined up this and it's like, oh, man, that was pretty good. It's the first thing you're like, oh, that was a good take. So it's like there wasn't anything terrible. But for me, I will say as director, and how I work, and I think that everyone got along well, was that I kind of don't we talk before, and then with the professional actors, they
Hmm.
do their work. So you show up to set
Yeah.
and you kind of let them do it. You see how they do it, how they want to play it, and then you
Yeah.
can make slight adjustments in that. But it's like you can't change what they want to do also. For me, I
Hmm.
guess how I direct is like an example would be like we do a take and he does it the way he thinks he should do it. And then we do
Hmm.
take two, and I'm like, okay, you did it that way. Now do it like you're a sale, like this is a scene at the door. And he's nervous. So now do this
Hmm.
like maybe you're more of a salesman. I mean, there's more than that, but in the simplest of forms, like a salesman. Then you do that take, and then you do the third one. And the third one, we're like, okay, now do it where you're so nervous you never look her in the eye. And then when we
Hmm.
did that, we kind of had a basis. After that, I was like, okay, I've seen these three different versions of performance. Now we talked, and I said, okay, for me, the character is like your first take is the right base, but then there has to be moments of this and moments of that, and then it's like we try a bunch of things at first, and once you've done a scene, you've tried it three, four different ways. You kind of figure out, okay, the character is most like, kind of take two with the hint to take three and hint to take in a way, and
Hmm.
then you kind of like form it together. So it's kind of like I think the first day is important. But I think the
Yeah.
key is just like when you're working with professional actors, I mean, they come with their own stuff and ideas. Like that was the thing. When before, like,
Hmm.
not that people don't, but people ideas are like, I don't know if that's good or bad but like when Bridget Regan comes, she's got, I mean, her script is more the cover than mine. There's not a clear room. She's thought about everything. She's thought about different ideas. And I guess for me, it was interesting working with people who were that prepared. I guess I never worked with actors who were that prepared. I
Hmm.
worked with people who want to act, but not people with that level
Hmm.
of preparation, which that made it easier on my job too, because you could just have a quick shorthand.
How many takes do you think is the sweet spot for you? Because I know it's like very different for some people. Some people like just doing like one take or two take, and then like I've heard that some people do like 15 to like 25 takes. What do you think is your sweet spot?
Well, I will say I haven't. It's hard on these films. It's different than I feel like
Yeah.
if I was maybe to start making Hollywood movies. I feel like you'd still want to do
Yeah.
less. I'm a three take person.
Yeah.
I basically every single scene I plan on shooting it three times. Like every single, not necessarily take, but that's kind of the goal. Like, and then if you need to do more, you can do more. And then for simple stuff, you get it right away. Less, I pretty much always do two, no matter what. Even if the first one works out,
Hmm.
always do a second one. Even if it's like grab the door, do it. It's like great, do one more. And also for me, even if this other thing about I also edit, and as an editor, you don't have to give a note.
Hmm.
You can have an actor do three takes, not give a note. They're all going to be different, even if they're playing it the same way.
Hmm.
When you're in the editing room, oh, I like just he holds that. He says it shorter, he says it longer there. He put his
Hmm.
hand up here. The next, he put his hand up a second earlier, a second later, or he flinched. Like there's always subtleties in the performance that when you're editing, you can find differences. And sometimes especially when you're looking for timing or rhythm, it is sometimes
Hmm.
in the stuff that no one's thinking about is why am I cutting to take two instead of one? Because he put his hand up 2 lines earlier here, and he put his hand up in the wide there, or
Mhm.
and it's good that and it's crazy editing where it's like I got 3 takes of most things, and I feel like there's only one take I like on almost everything, and it's like I just got lucky. Sometimes it's the first and the
Really?
second, and the third, but there's always
Uh-huh.
a useful take. But yeah, I'm kind of a 3 take person. I think the most takes like on Northwood Pie, it was the same thing, mostly 3 takes. I did
Yeah.
7 takes on one scene, a short scene that was only one shot, and then the opening through the pizza place was like 20 takes. But that's because it was a timing shot with people making a pizza, and it was like walking through the pizza place with a long oneer and having people hit their marks. So we planned and we had that
Hmm.
time, and you just need those many takes to look at the options and see which one's best. On the drawing feature, the same thing. I think I averaged 3 takes. I think there's, I mean, less than 5 scenes I did more than 3 takes. Like, I mean, I did 2 takes on a lot of scenes. Um, so I honestly like, I think the most takes I did on the drawing was 6 takes. So
Oh
I'm
wow.
I'm
I
I'm
mean,
not keen on that many takes for things. Yeah.
were there anything that you learned about yourself or like just your directing style since you were dealing with like actual actors this time compared to your other productions?
Kind of like I was saying, the number one, it's like that, and that's not all actors, but a lot of actors, like
Yeah.
they don't need to know everything in a way. You don't need to like, sometimes before in the
Hmm.
beginning, like the first couple days, I'd be like, I remember the first day with Tyler, I was like, hey, tell me about the scene. And I would tell him everything he needs to do, but I would also be like, yeah, and then I'm gonna dolly here. I would like explain like the whole, like everything about the scene.
Uh,
And like we did
hmm.
that thing, like the second scene, he's like, you can just tell me what I gotta do. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And we got along, we had a great time. And it's not like anything negative or mean. It wasn't mean when he's saying that. He was
Hmm.
just saying like, hey, like
Yeah.
I don't like personally, I don't even know any of that. Like you can put the camera up, maybe just let me know what I gotta do.
Hmm.
And I feel like that helped in general for the whole process of like, okay,
Hmm.
that is my job. Not everyone necessarily needs to know exactly where I'm going to cut and why. Like I think they do, but like some people just
Hmm.
the gaffer just needs to know where the light is and why. He doesn't need to know what the actor's going to
Yeah.
do. He's like, okay, cool, but okay, but does the light need to be here? Here. It's like, okay, put the light there. It's in some
Hmm.
regards. So it's like
Yeah.
understanding that like basically the confidence and just like knowing what you want and that
Hmm.
expressing to people individually of what you need from them. I think that's that. And then the other thing I learned is just, well, this is also tough, is I still did like everyone else movie in the sense that like I'm the production designer, I'm the prop master, we're
Hmm.
shooting at my grandpa's house. Like I'm buying props before and after. Like on the weekend, I'm building sets in the garage and tearing sets down. So
Yeah.
like as much as it was like a bigger movie, I think I didn't really think about that because at end of the day was still the same. Like I was still, doing most of the stuff. It's like there wasn't a big, when
Hmm.
the horror stuff came up, we didn't have a big, we got like a guy there, like a makeup girl, and then sometimes there was a dude who could do some strings, but like it's really just me. Like the horror scenes, like how do we do this? Well, we would do this, 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 and this. It's like me figuring stuff out, or me and the rest. So it was still
Hmm.
very individual in that regard. So I think it didn't make me think too much about the budget. But I will say, just working with actors, I guess it just makes it, I want to say easier. I know I said before, but like, it was just so nice to have people who are like, you can trust. Like when you can put your full trust into
Yeah.
somebody because you know they're professional, that puts a big weight off
Hmm.
your
Do
shoulders.
you have like any moments that you loved on set? Like some of like your top favorite moments, kind of?
Yeah, there's a few. I don't know how much to get into. I don't like. Um,
Yeah.
Trying to think. So, okay, there's 2 big moments. The biggest moment in the drawing feature, which was the moment that I would like to film on if it was a documentary making it would be the big moment. And another moment similar to the moment in 7th grade I was talking about, or the moment in 10th grade, there was
Yeah.
another moment where it's like, this is what I meant to do. I know what I'm doing, and I'm talented. Was technically we show up day one. Basically, in the simplest form, the makeup and the special effects did not work the way they were scripted, or the way they were planned, or the way
Uh-huh.
they said they were. So the movie had to be pivoted a bit. And then also shooting the
Hmm.
movie, and this just happens, like we wrote the mom character was written a little more, I don't want to say ditzy, but it was based off my mom and Todd's mom. And our moms are both
Hmm.
single moms, and they're a little bit more, not that I explain it like that, but they're not. It's because they're so busy and have so
Hmm.
much in their life that they're able to just like, basically, because there's a part in the movie where Annika, the lead actress Scarlett, is trying to explain like I like the kind of the first horror bit. Like I think I saw something last night. I think something was after Luke. Like she's kind of doing that first like but she's unsure. And there's a point where the aunt in the movie goes, sounds like being a mom. And I said it like in my mom's way, there's times where I'm telling my mom, and my mom's like, oh, that's cool. Like she's just trying to get out the door. She's got to get the little girl, a little
Yeah.
sister. She's got to drop us off. She's got to make, the breakfast. And then she's got meetings at work. And then she's got to worry about the bill. Like she's got so much stuff going on that she's just kind of like, oh, that's cool. Sounds like being a mom. Like, oh, because she was like just worried. Like, sounds like you're worried. Like, sounds like being a mom. So it was kind of like, and there was stuff like earlier in the script, like, she says there's a bunch of food in the house, and there's not food in the house. And she just like, it's not because she's a bad mother, it's because she's that. But the actress we got, Bridget, who actually added way more to the movie, is a little bit more serious. She's a dramatic actress, and so the movie wasn't as light. It was actually a little, and which is good. It actually added an extra antagonist to the movie because you can tell she loves her and we like her, but she puts up a little bit more of a fight to the lead character. So it actually ended up being a little bit better. But it kind of, how far am I going with this? Basically, because of that, you have to know the movie you're shooting. And making the movie, we were 2 weeks through production. The scenes, like for example, and also Annika's a great actress, and you can tell that the other actor didn't know necessarily quite yet. So we go take scene one, and it's like we do take one, and Annika starts to cry in the scene. I don't think it necessarily needs to cry in the scene, but she cries in the scene. So we do take two. Bridget cries. She's crying. I was like, oh, see now they're in an acting off. They're like, oh, now we're all gonna cry. So it was like, but the idea was they're good actors. So when you cut the movie together, it's like, okay, the movie is 15% more serious than I thought. And that's not a bad thing. But the horror, the scary part of it isn't working. And there was a subtext of the movie. That's spoiling too much. It's a horror movie. The subtext of the movie was originally like the grief is it's the monster. The monster in the movie is like her mother who had passed away and stuff like that. But it wasn't direct. The idea initially was you put your own grief on it, and it can be whoever it is depending on who you are in a way, and you see the monster who you need to see it be. But when the effects didn't work and the makeup didn't work the same way, we had to pivot to it being the mom directly. And but we had already shot a lot of the movie. So there was a point where we were going to shoot the ending of the film, and the ending's written a certain way. And also, I know we don't have the budget to do certain things. And the ending was always the part where can we do this? And the night before, at 3, 5 in the morning to 6 in the morning, Todd and I completely just rewrite the scene and come up with all these ideas.
Wow.
And it's for and we're taking all the elements we shot and it worked out. Like, for example, there's like an object, there's like a necklace in the movie that's set up, and it's kind of established, and we don't know really why. Like, some of the drawings had a necklace, some didn't. And we had a scene where we give the necklace to Annika, the lead actress, and she has it. And it hit me at the end of the movie, she will give this necklace to her mom, the monster. There's just always little changes. So basically, we had to come in, long story short, the longest version of the story, right? But we go to set that day, and I had to walk in and be like, hey, when the actors get here, we're not going to hair and makeup. We need to have a meeting. Yeah. And we're sitting at my grandpa's dining table. There's 10 people. They're sitting around. All eyes are on me. It's I'm not nervous the whole movie. I'm terrified. All these people are looking at me, and I have to be like, we're changing the ending. And I have to sit there and pitch them the ending. And I pitch all the actors this new ending and how it's going to link together, how it's going to work. And I can see it. They all love it. They love it. They like it. Great. Now they're throwing it, and now we're writing the rest of the parts together that we don't have. And then into that, I'm like, oh, that means why don't this happen? And then the actor's like, yes, that's a great idea. And that moment for me is because I earned their trust. And before that, not that she wouldn't do stuff, but there was a level of, the crew on the movie. The gaffer's 24 on my movie. I'm, 31. The people on the movie, the actors are in their 40s. And there's no one on set older than 33 years old. So to them, it's children and young people. And while they were listening, there was a sense of are you sure a lot of the movie, right? And when that happened, I could feel it on all the actors, especially Bridget too. After that day, everything I said was yes, 100%. Their confidence in me was double. It was that moment happened and they were like, oh, they know what they're doing. Todd and Jay know what they're doing. He fixed this movie. He made that scene better. I saw him think on the spot. It's better. It's more dynamic, and the ending of the movie is great. So that is something that felt, because there was a part earlier in the film, we didn't shoot it yet. We shot the last week where there's kind of and I'm kind of spoiling the movie, but no one cares. But there's like, and it's, so far away. But there's a gag in the film in the beginning where the first couple scenes of the film, Bridget has mascara under her eye. She's got like a mascara mark,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so she has to go through the first couple scenes with the makeup air, and then at the end, like she's walking out the door, Scarlett runs the door, is like, Gabby, sorry, and she's like, oh yeah, what? And she's like, hey, you got a little bit of mascara underneath your thing, and then Bridget's like, oh. Did I get it? And she rubs the wrong side. She doesn't get it. But but the lead actress is like, of course, like, got it. She didn't want to say it like, good. And she's like, thanks. And she turns around and leaves with it. But it's like the whole movie, like, Bridget didn't want to do that gag. Bridget was like,
Yeah.
basically, she's like,
Yeah.
I have to go through scenes with a makeup air. Like, the audience is gonna be like, oh, they missed it. Why does she have a mascara gag? Why is it there? And I'm like, it sets up your relationship, and it's also like the key moment that really makes us like. We've already introduced the character, but that's like the last bit where we really attach ourselves to the lead. We like her. We get her personality. We see how spunky she is, and little mischief, and we. It's a funny moment. It's a moment that is worth. Every time in the movie you see people go, oh, and in the script it was like the moment everyone's like, oh, this is good. I like the tone of this movie. So I was adamant about it, and then she was like kind of against it. And there was a couple things like that before, like I mentioned the food thing. She did. We shot that early.
Mhm.
She didn't do that. She didn't want to have no food in the fridge, and there were some battles like that that maybe I lost. That
Mm.
on the last 2 weeks of shooting, she like let me win all those battles, if you will, because she
Mm.
trusted me. She was like, "You sure about the mascara?" I said, "Yes, it's gonna work. Don't worry about it." Oh, okay, cool. There's another scene later we're shooting the blocking, and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna walk here. You're gonna walk in a frame from here." And she's like, "Are you sure you don't think that's this?" I said, "No, trust me. It's gonna be this." She's like, "Okay." So anytime I said trust me the last 2 weeks, she said, "I trust you." Which the first 2 weeks there was like, okay, or maybe I trust you. But when I did that scene
Yeah.
and we wrote it, and that was for me just a learning
Mhm.
lesson of like, you have to earn people's trust no matter what. And you should, early
Mhm.
on, you should do that. But it was like, I don't know. It was, I guess I felt proud. I was proud in that moment. And then a quicker version, I'll make this one
Mhm.
more quicker and not going too into it, but our leading actress had a loss in her life
Mhm.
leading up to the movie.
Mm.
And actually, when I
Mm.
reached out to the movie, it had already happened, and she read the script and she attached to it. And in the movie, the character has lost her mom, and in real life, she had just lost someone
Mhm.
equally close to her. And she told me before, I never brought it up, but she told me like, I'm gonna kill this movie. I'm gonna do everything in my power, and she was telling me, I'm gonna take what just happened to me, and I'm gonna express myself in this film. And the whole making of the movie, I never brought it up, never once. There's no reason to. I never pushed that button.
Mhm.
Um, but I could see, I know where she's pulling from. So when there's emotional scenes, I know where she's coming from when that's happening.
Mhm.
And it's hard to watch. So like I could watch, it's more emotional for me than maybe the crew because I know it's real when she's saying that line because she's saying
Mhm.
that person. It's not just her mom. So when we do the big ending of the movie where she's got to essentially be face to face with her mom, Miss Monster, and it's not a horror thing. It's a drama scene. It's a scene about like accepting.
Mhm.
It's like she did a take. And then I went up to her, and this is all someone that like we've worked on. She's in North of Pie, she's in my short, but we've
Mhm.
never hung out outside of work. We're not friends. Like I mean, we are, we're quick, but like we're not. I've never seen her outside of working on a movie, and
Mm.
I'm like
Yeah.
I don't talk to her when we're not making movies really or something like that. Once you're hey,
Mhm.
hope it was cool, email, but we're not really talking. But when that
Mhm.
happened, there's a point where like I sat down next to her. It's like, oh, I know, no take. And basically, in that moment, I expressed to her, I sat down right next to her and told her how I felt that I know where you've been pulling from this whole time. And it's been hard for me to watch because of this.
Mhm.
And I basically kind of pushed that button, but I said it in a way that I was honest, where I told her straight up, I said, like, I love you. I said, I know what it's like. Like, I'm your friend. I care about you and I'm here for you. And we've been through this together. And it's, watching you go through this and it means a lot. And like, so I pushed that button, but also made it clear, like, that I care for her and she's my friend and that she means a lot to me and I know what she's been through and how hard it is and how hard this movie was and we did the take and it's
Mhm.
the biggest jump in like it's the take in the movie. It's amazing, it's incredible. She was sobbing like after and left and then she had to leave the set and she came back later and she said it was the best. She said that was the best take she's ever done of acting in her life and she gave me a big hug and for
Wow.
me it was the moment because the moment you hold your directing it's like you don't think you're doing anything good. It's hard if you're really helping. But that was the one moment I
Mhm.
saw it night as day. Like I saw the first, I saw Tech and Take, and it was the best part of the movie, and it's the best performance. And it was like I felt like a director, and I felt good. I mean, and it wasn't just that, but it wasn't selfish. It wasn't invulnerable, and it was like one of the five most honest, intimate moments I've had in my life. And it was like because of the
Hmm.
movie. It was like, but it was another moment where I was like, I felt proud of myself. Those are the two moments, the whole time the movie, you can't even think about that. And you're like, am I fucking
Yeah.
up? If I'm messing up or doing whatever. But
No
like
worries.
those two moments are the moments that I felt proud. And that the moments still that make me
Hmm.
feel like I know I can do this. I know I can keep doing this. So yeah, anyways, long
Hmm.
story.
No, that was really good. I really love listening. I love listening to stories about like behind the scenes and like thought process and stuff, and like just hearing like the kind of steps that like helped you and the actors on set. I think it's like very motivational, and just like leading off of that. I like there's a section in this interview where we kind of like write a little letter to ourselves, like
Yes.
from 5 to 10 years from now, and just like I guess you can just take some time to think. What do you think you'll be doing? Like, where do you think you're going to be at in your career, like 5 to 10 years from now? What do you think you're like most proud of? Anything you wish you have held on to, or like things that you wish you have let go of, kind of? And how do you think your future self would kind of respond to your letter, to what you want to like say to them?
Um,
Hmm.
for me, it's interesting. I will say I relate to that in a way that part of my issue in life and why I do things, but also why I'm kind of like a procrastinator. I always say I'm the most proactive, lazy person in the world, and I'm the laziest,
Yeah.
hardworking man on earth. Like I'm
Yeah.
just right on that cusp of the thing. But for me, I've always, this is maybe even a positive, it's hard for me to dream about tomorrow or dream about the next year.
Mm,
Like I only think 10 years ahead. When I was 17, 18, I wasn't imagining what life would be like at 21 or 22. I was imagining
yeah.
life at 28, 27.
Mm,
And now when I dream, I don't, I skip time. Like I don't even think about life in my 30s. I think like, what's life going to be like when I'm 45, when I'm
mm,
50, when I'm 42. So I've always been a little too much where I'm almost looking too far, which has helped me with
mhm,
some things, but it's also hurt me in a lot of things because I'm not looking there. So, you know, it's an interesting question when you ask me like this because it's tough because you're trying to achieve something. So there's
mhm,
multiple places I could be. Um, but I have different levels of where I feel like I'm comfortable being. And there's obviously, I hope for the furthest path, but I'm okay with steps below it. But where I see myself in 10 years, hopefully, is I hope I'm making a living making movies. And it's as simple as that, but it's true. I hope I will be making, whether it's,
mhm,
you know, anything. I hope basically by then my goal is to have made a studio movie or to be making a studio movie. And not necessarily that I'm going to make Oscars or make blockbuster movies, but I can make a living doing that. And and because of that, you do commercials or ads stuff, which I'm not as into. But like the one thing I tell myself is that even with all this stuff coming, there's always going to be ads. There's always going to be, previews. There's always going to be something that needs to be filmed. With AI, with everything coming on, there's always still going to need to be the person in charge or the director because people don't like accountability. Like that's something learned on working on commercials and stuff is that like the reason there's a director on commercial sets is because none of the people who work for the company want to commit to that. They can't tell the brand like, no, we said that was the shot. Then they're going to get fired. They have to be like, we, he's the one who spun the camera on the logo. He's the one who
mhm,
hired that. They always have to sort of. So there's always going to be someone who's like to take the fall, if you will. So it's like I tell
mhm,
myself, I'm like, this is a job that's always there. And I'm just willing to tell myself that no matter what, as long as I'm making a living doing it, I'm okay. And outside of work, in 10 years from now, I mean, I'd hope to be married and have a child by then.
mhm.
If not, I'd be pretty. I mean, I hope more for that than I guess. See, that's the tough part. That's why I'm selfish. It's like I don't necessarily. I
Yeah.
want that more than anything, but like I don't know if I don't know if I want that more than that. I want both. I want to be able to,
Mhm,
but I feel like I need that. That's for me why I feel like I've put off some of that stuff in life is that I don't have a comfortable job because I've
mhm,
chosen a job that's so here and there, start and stop, and I haven't reached a level of success that I know that no matter what, I'll make a living.
mhm,
So I feel like my goal is just to make a living making movies. And then like about personality wise, I hope I'm a little calmer. Um, I hope which my energy, I think, is my excitement. But I think that sometimes, and I'm actually really good on set. Like on set, it's like the place I'm most professional. I'm the best. I'm the best version of
yeah.
myself. Which like my girlfriend and my friends and my family, like my mom, they're blown away. They don't understand. They're like, you're just like, because like in real life, like someone would say something to me that would piss me off, and I'd be like, screw you.
Mhm,
Someone says it on the movie set, I'd be like, okay, well, and then my parents like, how do you handle every situation? I'm like, well, I'm in charge. I'm making the movie. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like a
Yeah.
different mindset, you know. But so I would like to bring that movie mindset actually. I'm trying to bring that more into my regular life. Um, so and the thing I would like to forget about is I guess things people say also, like I know there's some stuff that bothered me now past, I'm still bothered by that like kind of make me upset. And I've realized recently through doing stuff that I think it's actually like I guess it's bitterness. I didn't even think I was a bitter person, but I guess it comes from, and I think it's anybody doing something like this where it's like you're risking yourself and you feel in your heart that I'm as talented as so like I should be directing the Bone Temple. I don't know, like well, like like there's and I should already be there in my life, and there's a sense of like maybe you can't be happy with your own self, or you almost can't, or forcing yourself to not enjoy life and all the things around you as much because I'm not where I
Hmm.
want to be. But I don't know if you're ever where you want to be. Even if I'm making that stuff, because I'm also the person like I could get a Conjuring movie tomorrow, and I don't know if that'd make me happy. I gotta like I used to say that, but like I don't know. And is that
Yeah.
really make like I want to make movies for a living, but so yeah, I guess it's like it's just being accepting of life and taking the highs and lows as they are and not dwelling on things. So I don't know, trying to be more professional in my regular life, which is a weird thing to say, but I think that that's the better version of myself, and I don't let things, bring me down or upsetting stuff where too like, I think I care much because I'm not there. Like if I, for example, anyway, like, but if you had, for example, Taylor Swift, like when you're a successful person like her or something, like people every day are going to complain about your music or say you're bad or fake or not talented, but
Hmm.
she's got $1 billion. She doesn't care, right? There, even on a simple say, like I feel like if I tell myself, like, oh, if I was making a living, or if I just, made commercials, I wouldn't care so much because I'm set in my own self. So I feel like I guess I realized, but I need to get rid of that now. There's no reason I shouldn't need success to be the best version of myself. And I think I've been using that as an excuse. So I hope 10 years from now, whether I'm successful or not, that I am happy and not using not being successful or successful as an excuse to be bitter or not bitter or greedy or jealous. You can only play the cards you're dealt, and it's okay. Like, I realize like everyone wants to make a Star Wars movie, and everyone thinks they can.
Yeah.
Every single person who made a movie that's come out in theaters in the last 5 years believes in their heart they could probably go make a Star Wars movie. But only one person can go get hired to make that Star Wars movie. It is what it is. I don't know.
No, I really liked like your mindset and like just how to like grow as an individual as well as like a director slash writer slash producer. I think that mindset's very important just to be able to navigate life because I feel like we could get so many different like road bumps and just having that mindset to be able to be very adaptive is very good in growing in ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
It's also part of a problem I will say for me separately at times stuff is that I'm sometimes too accepting, and sometimes why I've
mm,
maybe stopped getting help in some ways is I'm very good at acknowledging my problem or what I did wrong.
mm,
And I think that sometimes because I can identify the issue in myself or a movie, that's my skill set in
mhm.
anything, is that I feel like I maybe don't ask for help as much because I know if I found it, I
Mm,
could find the answer. And whether that be in a film or a movie or in my
mhm.
life, like, oh, I don't need to talk to this person or deal with this subject because I'm aware of that issue. But just because you're aware of
Yeah.
something doesn't mean that you have the answers to it. So, like, I guess that's something I'm trying to learn too.
I feel like everyone's kind of trying to learn that, just being
Yeah,
able to be open to everyone about our
yeah.
emotions, kind of.
And I also as a filmmaker,
But
I
I
feel
am
like, and
sure you will be.
yeah, thank you. And
No,
it's
you're
like
good.
same thing. I
You're
look at like
good.
football coaches or like sports people. Like it's the same thing
Yeah,
as like you have to take responsibility for when you're wrong and when you don't know something, and like that's okay too. And it's like you just need to like be comfortable and like and even if you do know like other people, you have to like rely on other people and you have to trust other people. So I don't know. I just have to, you just come to terms with that.
I'm sure you will be able to. And now, just going off of that, do you have any dream projects in the works at the moment? I know you're still finishing post-production for the drawing, but do you have anything else you're kind of like working on or looking to work towards?
Sure. I mean, lo in the longest form, like I'm striving to make that 1946
Yeah.
adventure movie. I've got it all mapped out, the locations, the set
Mm,
pieces, the shot. I got a lot of it shot listed. I've got a handful of like big budgety movies that one day maybe. Realistically,
yeah.
something I'm working on. It's funny how we work is that after Northwood Pie. the next thing we were writing, and we got halfway through, was Kolinga. That's the movie that I'm really passionate about that I want to make next. It's kind of
Yeah.
a survive the night thriller is kind of the best way to describe it.
Mm.
Um, and it's funny, like I wanted to make that after North Pine, started writing it, but I realized it's too expensive of a movie. So I started writing the drawing, and the drawing was designed to be a movie we can make. Um, and then that grew, and then that had the same problem actually. The first draft of the drawing, like I stopped 45 pages in and like started over because it
Yeah.
was too big. Like I had a like now like there like basically there was also a dad in the movie, so it's like she was on
Mm.
house arrest and she had an aunt, a little cousin, and an uncle. But now like the uncle's passed away. So it adds to the theme of her grief and their grief, and it's also one
Mm.
less character to deal with, one less character to write every sequence, what to do,
Yeah.
believe. We had a dog in the movie. There were just a few other things that were like, okay, we're not going to be able to achieve this. So then the Kolinga is the same thing now. Where like we've written the movie, we like the movie, I'm still writing it, and I'm focusing on that to be the next project. But I think I need like every movie I've made so far, like I wanted 25K for North of Pi. I made it for 12.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted first I think I need a million. I think if the drawing is like $1 million movie, I think it gets like a big Blumhouse release in theaters. But I didn't necessarily get it. So I wanted that, or I want half a million, but I only got 300,000. For the Kolinga, it's a type of movie that I think I can't undercut the budget. I think I need $2 million. I feel like I would be making a mistake to try to make it for less. Kind of going into what we talked about, where like playing to your budget.
Hmm.
So the
Yeah.
dream is still that. I'm working on that, and that's full steam ahead. And I'm when the drawing is done April 1st, with before it comes out in October, I'm going to be trying to pitch that movie and trying to get that movie made and start raising money for that. But with what we talked about, the new thing is again, I'm trying to write a movie smaller than the drawing. I'm trying to write a movie right now that's like, okay, if the drawing, because I have this, the drawing's getting sold. It's not up to me when it gets released. So, I
Hmm.
don't know. I could sell the drawing tomorrow, and they can be like, listen, we don't want to put it out till January. Well, I don't want to sit around and wait for that movie to come out because I won't be able to really get a green light for Colinga or
Hmm.
the money probably till that comes out, or an agent or manager, just because that. So it's like I'm now writing another movie that we can make for like even less than the drawing with a smaller crew because I just want to be proactive. So there is
Hmm.
dreams and all ambitions. We're striving to make a $150 million
Yeah.
movie. The goal is to make a $2 million movie next, but we're writing another $200,000 movie just in case we can go pump something out before. So kind of working on things at all level. But the Kolinga is the real dream, and that's something I really want to do. Like I feel like that no matter what, even if I would like to make that. I think I can make a $15 million movie of Kolinga for Warner Bros. I needed to, but like that's a movie no matter what that I want to make and set something. Coalinga, by the way, is a small town in Central California that my grandpa has off and on been the mayor of for like 30, 40 years. So the title comes from that, and originally the location, like, oh, we could shoot there, and I can, use my
Yeah.
grandpa's tie-ins to do stuff. But it's evolved into something bigger than that. It doesn't have to shoot there, but like, that's something that is also near and dear to me, and so that's the next goal basically. But we'll see when that comes out because I will say North of Pi. Last thing is like I shot that 2015 and 2016, and that didn't come out till 2020, and then this didn't come out until
Wow.
2026. So really, like it's been like 10 years. And I've only made two features. I made some shorts in between, but like it's tough because like North of Pi didn't make any money. I made it for 12,
Yeah.
made like $4,000 and it got good reviews, but like no one saw it. I couldn't get in front of the right
Hmm.
person. I still got to make a living and do a job and work as a PA and other stuff. So
Hmm.
yeah, so it's been a long time coming, but I think that the ball has started to roll down the hill. So yeah, hopefully,
Fingers
oh,
crossed.
yes.
I know it's you're I know you're gonna succeed. Like just like from like talking to you now, like how motivated and determined you are, I am pretty certain like you're gonna get to where you want to be.
I agree with that. I mean, in my own sense, what I mean that is like you have to believe in yourself. So what I mean is that
Yeah.
the only way I can fail, I tell myself, is if it was my fault. If I don't put enough effort, if
Hmm.
I choose to do this, if I become this, like my life's in my hands. Like and again, not a guarantee that I'm gonna do all those big things, but hopefully make a living do it. But I try to remind myself like where we are now making this, it's up to me. If I work hard enough, if I try hard enough, there's no one to blame for myself. If I'm 55 and I didn't succeed and I didn't get to make a real movie, the only person I will blame is myself. So hopefully it works out. I think you're right. I like to think you're right. I don't like to be that, I'm confident but not that cocky, but like I'm confident I can make a
Yeah.
living shooting stuff. Hopefully that ends up being feature films. We'll see. But either way, I know the ball's in my court. And I'll say it to other people too. Like, if it's not in your court yet, make it in your court, right? You have to, like you said, you keep trying. Because again, I guess you're right in a way. Like, I was doing that tweeting into the void for years, and it feels like nothing can come of it. And then this happens. So again, you never know. If back to what Rob Zombie said in the beginning, where I was talking about, if you keep striving, it might not happen next year. It might not happen when I'm 40, 50, but maybe when I'm 60. I think about how many actors are like, they're famous and you didn't know who they were till they were 50. Christoph Waltz was a famous,
Hmm.
he was acting his whole life. No one knew what he was until Inglourious Bastards. Samuel L. Jackson was acting his whole
Hmm.
life. He didn't get famous till he was like 47 years old. And we
Yeah.
now all know these people as institutions. So it's like, and for directing, I think people would get scared because you're in your 20s and 30s, you can feel like you're not succeeding. But like, James Gunn
Hmm.
didn't make his first feature film until he was like 42 or something. Not 42. I think it was,
Yeah.
no, he was 30 something, but he didn't make a studio movie till 44. J.J. Abrams didn't make his first movie till 39, so like it's a
Yeah.
40 to 60 industry. So as long as you just keep your head down and keep working, that's my advice is to just not give up. I will say I know a lot of people who give up already. Like that's my thing. I mean people 26, 25, and they're
Hmm.
willing to be like, oh, no one wants me, no one wants my screenplay, or no one wants this, or oh, it's so hard. I'm like, you want to give it? Cool. One less person I gotta compete against. That's selfishly,
All the
but
successful players in the industry didn't get successful until way later in life. They see people their age and they're comparing to whatever they've already done. But that's just now. Like when you think of it,
yeah,
it's a long game. Like you have to think about the future and just how the successful players, how much effort they put in. Like you don't see it all, but they like have put in so much effort, so many years of struggling. Don't just compare yourself to people around your age. You gotta keep on going.
yeah, 100%. I mean, if I just compare myself to Ryan Coogler and Steven Spielberg, I'm pretty mad because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, Ryan Coogler did Creed at 30. They gave him that at 30, and then I'm like, Steven Spielberg made Jaws at 26. Like,
Hmm.
Paul Thomas Anderson
Yeah.
made Boogie Nights at 26. Like, that's insane. But those are outliers. If you look up most people, they're older
Hmm.
and later in life. So, and it makes sense too
Yeah.
because like as somebody who works from ads and stuff too, coming from the promo world and the ad world, if someone's on a television show who's 60 years old, been acting for 40 years, they're on their Sunday, they got to come out for 45 minutes and be like Tuesday at 9. If the guy's 26 years old, it's like, does he know what he's doing? Is it that there has to be a little bit of a comfort, and it's like you kind of have to
Hmm.
you have to show you've done your work to get up to that position. So yeah.
And so before we end this interview,
Did
I
I break
can't
the
even
record?
say enough. Yeah, I literally learned so much. And
I gotta
I
be honest, this is the problem
seriously,
I have. Every podcast I do, I'm like, did I break your
yeah.
record? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, you did. But I really loved it. Like I love sitting here and listening to like stories of like from directors. Like even with my professor, I like spoke with him for like over an hour and it was just him talking about his movies and his mindset and I'm like, "Please continue. I'll just sit here and be quiet while you talk." So I really did enjoy this interview a lot and I cannot wait to watch the drawing because I really loved that short film. It was so
Thank
good
you.
and I can't wait to see Annika
Promise
because
to, when it comes out on streaming, you watch it, you put it on your TV, your laptop, you
I
leave the
literally
house, go
will.
to the
Don't
grocery
even
store,
worry
the
about that.
campings.
I'll tell everyone I got you. I will literally make them go watch it. Don't you worry.
It's kind of like you got me fresh and I had so many things to talk about. So,
Thank you
okay.
so much. Have a good rest of
Thank
your day.
you. Have a great
Bye,
day.
Jay. Thanks.